We got Jeff from Freeman.
I'll go get him.
No art tonight?
Nope. No art, no John.
Yeah, Art isn't able to join us.
Sorry?
Art is not able to join us.
Art is not what?
Art is not able to join us.
He's not what?
He's not.
I'm sure. Right out there, Bill, aren't you?
I know, I'm taking up a lot of space.
You're all right.
Good evening and welcome to the 2024 July 1st Mott Community College Board of Trustees meeting. All those that are able, please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please be seated. Additions to the agenda. Item 2.27, compensation for acting interim president Jason Wilson, a 10% increase as recommended by the HR department. Is there any objection? Seeing none, we will add that 2.27. One correction is on 2.24. Motion to have the board attorney moderate, that's monitor, for interim president candidate interviews. Is there any objections to changing the word? Seeing none, so moved. Is there a motion to adopt the agenda?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. Opposed? Nay. The ayes have it. Jordan, do we have any communications from the public?
Mr. Chair, were you saying nay for that? Or did you say, was it all members present voted aye? I heard a nay in there.
All, as I heard it, all voted aye.
Aye. Yeah, okay, thank you. There are no communications.
Were there any communications, Jordan?
There were no communications.
Okay. Comments from the public. In accordance with Section 1640 of the Meeting Procedures Board Policy, states that the board chairperson shall invite the public to address the board. All citizens who wish to address the board or who wish to communicate with the board in writing shall identify themselves or the group they represent, if any. They must also state their reason for addressing the board. Citizens addressing the board shall be limited to 5 minutes in making their remarks unless their time is increased or decreased by consent of the board. A brief supporting the remarks made by the citizens may be submitted to the board for its consideration. However, this is a continuation of the previous meeting. Whereas we would not normally be allowed to do this, it is my intent to allow the public to have the opportunity to speak. Is there any objection? Seeing none, I then ask Jordan if there is anyone who would like to speak to us this evening.
Yes, Mr. Chair, the first comment's been submitted by Tyler Ross Massler. I think I just didn't pronounce it correctly. He's speaking on behalf of Flint and Genesee Economic Alliance, and his topic is jobs in Genesee County.
Good evening. My name is Tyler Ross Messler. I'm the Executive Director of the Flint and Genesee Economic Alliance. I'm also an former MCC student and a resident here of Genesee County. I'm raising my family here. I'm excited to talk to you today about the Advanced Manufacturing District of Genesee County. The Advanced Manufacturing District is a 1,000-acre site in Mundy Township that the Flint and Genesee Economic Alliance is currently marketing to advance and manufacturers. We don't have a user yet, but there are many good reasons why a company would want to locate in this community. For one, the site has several unique characteristics, including its proximity to rail, Bishop Airport, I-69, I-75. It's also home to 3 outstanding colleges, including Mott Community College, and a local talent pool of skilled laborers. Between its size and many assets, there's no other site available like this in our state. We've been carefully planning and preparing the Advanced Manufacturing District for many years. As we continue taking steps forward in this process, we are dedicated to following an environmentally conscious approach. Environmental considerations will be at the forefront of our decisions for the site's development. Any development will be subject to oversight and regulatory review from state, local, and federal governments and to protect our air, land, and water. Further, Mundy Township has high-quality design standards that will ensure setbacks, berms, landscapings to enhance the community look and feel. This is going to be a lot more analogous to a college campus than any other manufacturing development we've seen in this community. It's an incredibly important initiative for many reasons. The Advanced Manufacturing District meets the needs of critical industries, which are important to our economy and national security. Not only will bringing an advanced manufacturer to Genesee County position our area as a leader in cutting-edge technology, but it'll also create thousands of jobs, pump millions of dollars into the local community and its region. This will spark investment and revenue to support our schools, roads, and public safety agencies. It's the opportunity to attract a transformational investment that will reverse decades of jobs loss and contribute to an increased quality of life for our community. We are proud to have strong and widespread support for our efforts to attract a project to this site. This includes support from each of our community's higher education partners, including Mott Community College, the University of Michigan Flint, and Kettering University. It's also been encouraging to see the support of our efforts for many other sectors across our community, including small business owners, realtors, educators, beloved community institutions, the leadership of local trades unions like the IBEW, Local 948. Additionally, we surveyed and commissioned a poll that found 70% of Genesee County residents would support efforts to bring an advanced manufacturer to our area for a few important reasons. Number one, it will create good paying jobs, including those that don't necessarily require a 4-year college degree. It will offer opportunities for young people so they can find a job that are close to home. And it will boost the local economy, attracting other businesses and investment. Mott Community College, in particular, plays an important role in this type of work. Our ability to attract companies is contingent on our ability to train employees. So Mott Community College's strong reputation is central to our attraction efforts. What's more, the Advanced Manufacturing District will provide new opportunities and career pathways for young people, meaning they'll be able to stay here in Genesee County and build a life. With your continued support, the community will be able to develop training programs that will prepare our young people for an exciting career right here in this community, and that includes those graduates from Mott Community College. Thank you for your time tonight to talk about this unique site and exciting opportunities it holds for Genesee County. We're very appreciative of Mott Community College's support for our efforts to attract a job-creating project that will benefit our community, the region, and entire state long into the future. Thanks.
Thank you very much. Are there any other comments from the public this evening?
Yes, Mr. Chair, the next comment's been submitted by Ms. Taylor, and she'll speak on the topic of the agenda.
To the people that are present this evening, I'm really concerned about the process of selecting the new president. It seems like we have reduced the requirements lower than being a teacher. I think having a board meeting called and then having it immediately canceled is a ploy. I feel that it's very political, and I don't understand why the board is acting in this process. I feel that there's an urgency to certainly replace someone to the equal caliber that Dr. Beverly was here on this campus. I think she brought something to this community that no other president has brought in the past, and I urge you to do something equally as well. I think you should really honor the Open Meetings Act, and when the president says things that he allows us, the public is always present. It's our tax dollars that control what happens on the campus. And I think we should be respected and encouraged to be here. I think signs about the board meeting should be all over the community. It should be plastered everywhere. I would think you would want all the community present while we go through all of these very important processes. And I encourage you to be much more open. I encourage you to be much more involving of the community. And I just encourage you to keep your standards high, because this is our community college. It doesn't belong to the board. It truly belongs to the community.
Thank you very much. Are there any other comments from the public this evening?
Yes, Mr. Chair, the next comment's been submitted by Ann Figueroa of Mount Morris, Michigan, and she'll be speaking on the topic of interview process for interim.
Good evening, trustees. I'm going to repeat comments I've said the last couple meetings regarding grading system, proper hiring technique, proper interview questions. There are HR professionals that are on staff here that should be utilized for this process. Having individuals who have no hiring background creating questions to ask, asking candidates seems odd. They don't know what they're asking for. And on this board, there are only 2 people that I see, possibly 3, that have hired an executive or a highly professional person. Others have been involved in maintenance, in probably hourly workers, which is a different level. So setting the board up to ask questions seems to lead us down a wrong path, down a slippery slope, which could take us into legal territory. I know they'll be reviewed by the attorney, but the questions should be able to be asked, ones that you can dig out the information on the candidate. That's the goal. So I just want to repeat, rely on your HR staff. They have been doing this for years, and they're professionals, and they can guide you and make this process a lot easier than it is now. I also want to bring up, when I came in, I asked for copies of the minutes, and I was directed to our QR code, which I happen to be able to use and be able to see on my phone to be able to read the minutes. And not every public is. The public should have access to paper copies. If all of because the committee reports are in paper, why the agenda's in paper, why aren't the minutes and all the other documentations that you guys receive are not available to the public? So they need to be. There's also, was able to get on there, there's a correction for the May 20th meeting. It has my name from Vassar. It said Mount Morris on all my paper. I don't know where you got Vassar unless it's a street name. So there is a correction for the May 20th meeting. Now, I looked at it real quick. The Open Meetings Act says proposed minutes must be available for public inspection within 8 days after the applicable meeting. Approved minutes must be made 5 days after the body approves them. I just looked on the website. These minutes are not on your website, available for the public to peruse. Not only the 8 days, I guess, I understand we're 7 days. I'm okay with that. But the other minutes are not available to be perused. So they have to be up there because the May 20th meeting was longer than the 8 days. So it's something you have to pay attention to the Open Meetings Act's rules regarding this. They have to be available to the public. Your website is the vehicle, okay, but they should be out there. It's like we're shutting the public out again on one other thing. So thank you.
Thank you very much. Jordan, do we have any other public comments?
Yes, Mr. Chair, we have a comment submitted by Arthur Woodson of Stewart Avenue on the topic of the agenda.
Good evening. Mr. Chair, you're not doing us any favors. The last meeting that I was at, I didn't hear anybody say recess or continuation of a last meeting or anything else. And then online it says regular meeting. It doesn't say recess or I forgot the word, continuation or what you just said. And then if it was, it wouldn't have new agenda items on there like this right here. It would be continuation of the last meeting. So you're not doing us a favor. You had to do this anyway, so don't make it sound like you helping us out. With that moderate motion to have the board attorney moderate for interim president candidate interviews, don't trust you or that lawyer. I'm just being real. Just from the couple of meetings that I've been in, you have really abused your position. And then the attorney, he's just looking to get paid. So he's not standing up to you to let you know that you're wrong. What you need, I mean, you're on the college campus, bring a parliamentarian in because you do not know the rules and you do not know Robert's rules. So you really need to, some help there. I hope that, because I'm hearing one of the candidates, Snell, name a lot, and I know that she's part of your agenda. So I'm looking to see if she's going to be the one that you and that attorney, because he knows her real well, if she's going to be the one that you push the most. Speaking about, I didn't see it on the agenda, so I said I was going to speak about the agenda, but since he spoke about it, I think I'd like to speak about it too, the Megasite. I heard him say everybody supports it except for one important group of people, the residents. I didn't hear him say the residents support this Megasite. They here now. How is it that corporations and big agencies and everything try to force their way into a city? And then you don't even know how many jobs, really. You don't even know who's coming. But then again, it's no transparency, none whatsoever. Just like Ashley Capital came into Flint. They taking $72 million. How is it that you can get $265 million from MEDC to clean up a site, but you couldn't get $72 million to clean up Buick's site? They don't even want them there. How is it that you're sitting here forcing yourself on people? That's the craziest thing ever. The last time I heard somebody say, let's just vote on it and we'll find out what's in it later on, was the Affordable Care Act. You bringing in a building and you're saying that you don't even know who's coming. So how can you tell me how many jobs you bring in? Oh, you're measuring it by the square feet. but you don't know who it is. That's the craziest thing I ever heard in my life. But then again, it's all about money, because Tim Herman is the president of Flint and Genesee County Commerce, and then he's the president of Uptown Redevelopment, who owns property out there also. So he gets part of that $265 million. See, y'all keep on playing games with the people, but when the people rise up and say that they have enough, then y'all going to understand. Then you're going to start crying. Then you're going to start saying, oh, woesy, woesy me. But damn, listen to the people while we're talking right now and sit down at the table. If the people say they don't want it, go out there and talk to them. Go talk to them. If they don't want it, take it somewhere else. Have you looked to see how much water will they be using from out of Lake Huron? Have you looked at that? Have you looked at how many jobs these battery plants really have throughout the United States? How many people do they really, truly employ? Have you looked at that? Have you looked and seen if China would be the ones that will be owning this property here or owning this business? Will the people really from Genesee County get the jobs? Because I haven't seen where jobs then came to Genesee County, but they brought their own workers with them. So is there a community benefit agreement that y'all done discussed already with the residents? Y'all haven't done any of this. But y'all so happy and eager to say, let's bring it in. It's the $265 million that got y'all eyes open. Y'all really don't care about the people. It's about the green. That's the only thing I know that doesn't have race included, because the green covers everything. Black, white, pink, blue, whatever. We will dog out black people, white people, Democrats, Republican, anybody for that green. Thank you.
Jordan, do we have any other comments this evening?
Yes, Mr. Chair. The next comment's been submitted by Sue DeShaw of Reed Road, and she'll speak on this subject of Megasite.
Is she here this evening?
Is this on? Okay. Okay, this is a visual tonight, guys. Thank you for having me. This is the Megasite in the green, and these are the 7 neighborhoods around it. There's actually 1,243 homes around this. The reason I'm showing you this is because the next visual is the Hemlock plant in Hemlock. It's owned by Corning. 80% of Corning owns it, and 20% of Japan owns it. It's actually an industrial park. Oh, is that better? Oh, that's better. Okay. They produce chips for the solar panels. They have anywhere from 500 to 1,000 employees. The mines that they get their minerals and ores from are in China, Brazil, Norway, and some from U.S. They have 615 acres. They're also 5.5 miles away from the town of Hemlock. They're not in a subdivision. Then we have a plant from Intel, Columbus, Ohio. Intel is owned by stockholders. There's not any particular person that I can find. Well, there's one person. So I'm assuming they're American. They have plans to build 10 semiconductors. Each semiconductor plant is specific as whatever chips that they have, and they can have multiple plants in an area. Then we have Austin, Texas. This one is owned by Samsung, which is South Korea. They have one plant that can use millions of gallons of water per day. One plant uses millions of gallons of water per day. And some of these have multiple plants on their acreage. The electricity consumption is expected to be more than double by 2030, using more power and releasing more greenhouse gases. In the past 2 years, Austin, Texas has spilled hundreds of thousands of gallons of toxic wastewater, including sulfuric and hydrochloric acid, into the neighboring bodies of water that flow to the Colorado River. They have plans to open a second plant in Taylor, Texas in 2025. This is a Phoenix, Arizona plant. This is owned by TSMC, Taiwan Semiconductor Manufacturing Company, which is the largest chip maker in the world. This plant has been pushed back to 2025 because of issues. A few of the issues are they're blaming lack of skilled labor. They're trying to fast track 1,000 visas to bring in Taiwan workers. Unions are accusing the company of inventing the skills shortage as an excuse to hire cheaper foreign labor. Construction of the plant has been hampered by accidents and misunderstandings. Their delays are blamed on disorganization from the management and lack of knowledge by bosses from Taiwan on adhering to safety code and U.S. regulations. This company blames construction delays on Americans' workers, calling them lazy, and using that as an excuse to bring in foreign workers who they can pay less. These plants we have on our website, we have videos of what these plants are, and they're actually fascinating to watch how they do it. They have what's called a clean room, and they usually have water treatment plants on the site because they need pristine, clean water in order to make these wafers. So while they're putting all this water on these wafers, they're taking the chemicals that they use, which is going, they have clean water coming in, they have all these chemicals on these wafers, all that toxic water is going out. Now they say that the treatment plants can take all that PFAS and clean it off so that it's potable in drinking water. Yeah. They also have their own power plants for electricity. I can understand the needs for these chips. However, these plants, none of them on any of those pictures, they're not anywhere near a neighborhood. They're in the middle of a farm field, they're in the desert, or they tear down a whole bunch of trees to put them in. They're not by. And if you do find any that are, they're usually a software plant, not anything that's going to use that much toxic water or chemicals. Thank you.
Thank you. Jordan, are there any other comments this evening?
Yes, Mr. Chair, the next comment has been submitted by Gene Hill of Flint Township, and it'll be on the topic of interim president finalist announcement. This will be a two-part comment. I would like to bring to the board's attention that the interim president finalist announcement has formatting inconsistencies that may lead the public to believe that the board has already made their decision. When I looked at and read the announcement, I noticed that one candidate stood out, and it wasn't because of the content of their bio. It was because their bio was formatted in a different way. While all the candidates had their names in bolded black text, Shonda Richardson Snell's bio was the only one that did not use gray text for the rest of the bio. Instead, used black text. Also, the first three appear to be in alphabetical order, while her bio is last and out of alphabetical order. This has led me to believe that the board has already made their decision. While I understand mistakes happen, this should have been noticed and fixed before going out to the public. Taking the time to ensure proper formatting is very important, as it shows the public your professionalism and your care to ensure the favoritism is not being shown. It is mistakes such as inconsistent formatting that can lead the public into believing that some sort of corruption is happening behind closed doors. I recommend that the announcement be taken down and corrected for consistency. As a student, I would hope that this isn't the case and that board doesn't select Shonda Richardson Snell to be the next interim president of the college. I believe this would be a big mistake on the board's part, as it would appear that she has no formal experience or education in adult learning or higher education. Dr. Brent Knight, Dr. Diana Phillips, and Jason Wilson have all proven experience in the area. Each has 10 plus years of experience in higher education, which is more than needed for a position so high up on the ladder. I urge the board to carefully think about the consequences of putting someone with no experience in education in charge of running a community college. As a student, I am deeply interested in who the board selects as the interim president and hope that they are thinking about the needs of the students over their own needs.
Thank you. Are there any other comments this evening?
Yes, Mr. Chair. The next comment's been submitted by Joan Mendy of Marsack Drive on the topic of MCC support of proposed Mundy Township Megasite.
Thank you. My name is Joanne Mendy. It is
Excuse me,
spelled
Joanne.
like, that's okay,
Joanne?
it's spelled like Joan.
Joanne?
Yeah.
Ma'am,
No.
no. We want to make sure that whatever she's doing with the table is okay.
I would just like to correct that and say, those could be passed to the audience. I have copies for the board members, so
Okay.
thank you. Sorry for the interruption. Thank you.
I'm sorry.
No problem. I'm sorry for the confusion. My name is Joanne Mendy, and I spoke here last week as a resident of Mundy Township regarding the proposed Megasite. And I don't want to repeat too many topics that we talked about last time, but some of them are worth emphasizing. Earlier, we heard from the Executive Director of the Flint Genesee Economic Alliance, Mr. Tyler Ross-Masler, and he noted that this proposed project, of which the identity remains unknown, will bring jobs. The environment and the building site, when it's all said and done, will look much like a college campus. The money from it will be supporting schools in the surrounding area, and it will bring great economic growth to this area. Mott Community College, we want you to know that we're not picking on you. You are one of 20 entities that are noted on the Flint Genesee Economic Alliance website as being in support of this megasite. You are number one on our list. We have 19 to go. When I read the letter as to why this entity would support the megasite, if I was a board member of MCC, I would sign that letter. The letter was very generic. We are in support of further jobs. We are in support of economic opportunities. We look forward to the opportunity to show how technically aware we are and the great number of jobs. Who would not sign that kind of letter? Isn't everyone here for jobs, greater opportunity, greater advancement? I say this as a resident of Mundy Township, but I also say this as a parent who had twin daughters attend Kettering University. They graduated 2016. My daughter got married at St. Matthew's in Flint. I'm an engineer. I've been involved in the construction industry for over 40 years. I'm a licensed engineer. I was one of 7 women in my graduating class from the engineering school. So I look forward to technical opportunities that afford high-paying jobs. But we don't want jobs that put the worker and the environment at risk. We want jobs that are good for our sustainable future. Now, there's an old adage that says haste makes waste. And this is so true of the $250 million that's being thrown at the Mundy Township megasite. If I were an entity that produced no goods and services, such as the Flint Genesee Economic Alliance, and I came to the state and said, I'd like $250 million to renovate each and every house along DuPont Street or north of Chevrolet Avenue. I can't tell you who I am. I can't tell you when I'll start. I can't tell you too much about me, but give me that $250 million. I bet you I would be laughed out of the door. So I urge you, Mott Community College trustees, to not support this. What I'd like to show you what I'd like to show on the papers I just presented. where the environment is supposed to end up looking like a college campus, the first page shows you what the Hemlock semiconductor manufacturing site looks like superimposed over Mundy Township. Hemlock occupies, I believe it's at 615 acres. Mundy Township, when you use the bordering lines, is a gross about 1,900 square feet. In the middle of the farmland, surrounded by residential agricultural areas. If you flip to the next page, you see what that looks like just using Google View, Street View. That's what it looks like. Doesn't really look like a cool, cozy college campus to me. If you look on the third page, you will see what the Arizona plant that Sue talked about looks like imposed over Mundy Township. They have about an 1,800 acre site. Mundy Township gross acreage is about 1,900, although the proposed funding is for about 1,000 acres. And if you look on the last picture, can you tell me where the student organizational center would be in that industrial site? It's in the middle of a desert. It is miles and miles and miles away from any residential area. If there's anything that should be fixed, it should be the years and years of pollution that exists in the Flint area. If you're going to use that $250 million, use it for areas that are already polluted. Why must you destroy the pristine landscape of Mundy Township? Tyler said that this project is supported by so many entities. And like the gentleman said before me, it's all supported except by the most important aspect, the residents. We just completed a master plan survey of Mundy Township, and of those that participated, 70% of the residents do not want the Megasite. In fact, one succinct comment was, how many times do we have to tell the board, no, we don't want it? Go for technology, go for improvements, go for opportunities, but don't just jump in at the $250 million because that's a bribe waiting to happen. Take your time, research all of the requirements, research the pollutants that come from this, research the electrical plants that you're going to have to build because these plants use probably 3 to 5 times the amount of electricity as a normal plant, and you're not going to get that from windmills. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Jordan, do we have any other comments from the public?
Yes, Mr. Chair. The next comment's been submitted by Marjorie Steele out of Big Rapids, Michigan, on the topic of alternative sustainable development for Mundy Township.
Good evening, folks. My name is Marjorie Steele. I am the founder and executive director of the Economic Development Responsibility Alliance of Michigan. It's also probably worth noting here that in addition to having been a copywriter, journalist, and grant writer for the past 15 years, I've also taught business and marketing as an adjunct in a variety of Grand Rapids colleges for over 8 years. I have been asked to be here by Mundy Township residents, members of your own community. I am going to talk about potential solutions. You have been brought a lot of problems today. It's my goal to potentially bring you some solutions. As I say, I've been asked to come here and to present a proposed alternative to the Advanced Manufacturing District, or the Mundy Megasite. We formed last year as an entirely grassroots-run organization. I think it's worth noting that to date we have received no major funding, and all of our work, including the programming that I'm about to present to you today, has been entirely performed on a pro bono grassroots basis. We've been working with the Mundy Megasite grassroots community since early last fall, as well as obviously the Big Rapids community, Marshall communities, Shiawassee, and even Detroit as well. We have, over that process, it's been clear that nature abhors a vacuum, and it is not enough to say no to these megasite developments in these communities, because the reality is that there is a real need. In each of these communities, especially in Mundy, As all of you know, there's a real need for economic development in the education sector, both K through 12 and higher education. There's serious deficits. So because nature abhors a vacuum, we've made it our goal to model good economic, grassroots, citizen-led development, in addition to fighting for economic and environmental justice. So, I'm going to do my best to summarize the salient points of what is currently an 11,000-word investor and grant template. We cite over 87 sources. So what I'm about to rattle off to you is well documented. I'll be following up via email with Mr. Everman and any other chairs who would like. I apologize for not bringing a printed out version. It's 50 pages and I simply did not have the financial resources to print them all out and bring them here, but I will follow up digitally. So again, I'm going to do my best to summarize here briefly. I want to very, very briefly walk you through our design process. As we have been looking at designing solutions for each of these communities, we've broken down the problems that we are identifying into three categories: local problems, state, and global. At a local level, we are facing issues of disinvestment, specifically in education, agriculture, small business and manufacturing, and in community spaces. At a state level, we're facing capture of economic development corporations, regulatory agencies, and legislators. At a global level, however you care to define it or parse it, it is clear that we are facing serious problems resulting from ecological destruction, specifically pollution, deforestation, monoculture and soil depletion, and habitat loss. Our work of our programming is going to particularly hone in on those last two. You have to put your own house in order first. So we are focusing our solutions on those local problems. So those local problems with schools, which I'll rattle through quickly. You folks are very aware of the problems the schools are facing. Teacher dissatisfaction is at an all-time high. Unfilled teacher vacancies are also at an all-time high. And we also understand that all these negative impacts come down to trickle down to impact our rural and our low-income communities the most. In regards to agriculture in the state of Michigan, Michigan is losing hundreds of farms every year, despite the fact that the younger generation is very keenly interested in agriculture, specifically in regenerative agriculture. In business and manufacturing, between 1990 and 2019, all manufacturing jobs in Michigan decreased, with the exception of one industry, and that is food manufacturing. In community events and spaces, the public-private partnership model, unfortunately, has really been doing a number to our public parks and spaces, which are facing disinvestment across the community. So these are some of the problems that we face. As we move into solutions, the log line is this: Michigan's future is not manufacturing 4.0. It is agriculture 4.0. And when I say agriculture 4.0, I'm not alluding to agriculture that is driven by AI and computerized technology. I'm talking about a much more ancient technology of harnessing nature's ecologies and her systems, which is currently known in the climate change community as regenerative agriculture. And that's what we're going to focus on a lot here. So we've broken down our solutions into these three problem categories. In the category of agriculture, permaculture is clearly the future. Global climate initiatives such as the 4 per 1,000 realize that soil carbon represents 25% of potential climate solutions. This is what regenerative agriculture is focused on. Permaculture and regenerative agriculture at large. 30 more seconds, right? Was that right? Was that 30? Was that my 30
Board,
seconds?
without objection, we give her additional time. Please continue.
Thank you so much. I'll be very fast. Permaculture, specifically under regenerative agriculture, helps to conserve water usage. It conserves and builds soil, and most importantly, it improves local food security by growing food that local people can actually eat. In the category of education, the research is clear. Montessori and project-based learning, particularly for the K through 12 grades, is what simply makes sense. I understand that there's issues with merging this into standardized testing, but as you know, it's time in education to do a shift in model, and the research evidence is clear. And we can even point to examples of private funding that has been going into innovative models. Just a couple of years ago, the Grand Rapids Public Museum High School was awarded $10 million by the HQ headquarters for their project-based learning high school. These are just a few examples. In the category of business, here's where we get to the really fun stuff, the economically exciting stuff. Food and fiber hubs. The USDA has been quietly working on pushing this for over 10 years now, and nobody seems to be paying attention despite the fact that there are over 30 federal funding programs available for food hubs under the USDA umbrella alone. One Wisconsin study, and to be clear, food and fiber hubs are closing the gap between agriculturalists and the consumer base by providing processing, packaging, distribution, and marketing resources that especially your small and medium-sized agriculturists do not have the resources to prevent. So one Wisconsin study found that one regional food hub in Wisconsin would support 400 jobs, would infuse $60 million into the local economy, and would increase revenue for 50 neighboring farms by 900,000 to 1.8 million per farm. That is for one regional food hub in Wisconsin. A study in southeastern Ohio found that if the region met just 25% of its local foods needs from a local food hub, it would create 27,000 jobs, it would employ 1 in 8 unemployed in the community, and it would infuse $4.2 billion into the local economy. So when we are talking about food hubs combined with regenerative agriculture, we are talking about some serious cash flow. We're not talking pie in the sky. And this has cascading effects up and down the entire supply chain in agriculture. Last but not least, in our fourth problem category, we have community. The solution, again, here is fairly clear. We need annual folk festivals, not just the big ones like Tulip Time and Electric Forest. We need small community annual folk festivals to be refilling and revitalizing our parks and to be providing revenue to invest back in the parks, because our parks need more revenue than just parking passes. So to bring it all under one umbrella, how do we propose to do this? We're going to need a shift away from the P3 model of public-private partnerships. We're going to need to expand this to a citizen public-private partnerships. And here's the real selling point to you guys. There are grassroots community members in every one of these Megasite community members and in non-Megasite communities that have avidly fought against bad developments. They will also fight avidly for good developments, and I promise you they will fight for this one. If you develop food hubs and permaculture Montessori schools in this community, they will fight for it. They will organize, they will fundraise, they will run surveys and petitions, and critically for development, they will help us run real stakeholder input sessions, which are necessary and have not been performed for the other Megasite. Bringing it all into a close, like I said, I'm going to email our full grant document over to you. I'd really appreciate it if each of you could spend some time, whether or not you're interested in working with IDRA of Michigan as a partner, which we really hope you do, because we have a lot of exciting ideas and an incredible network behind us. Regardless, we hope that you will take these ideas, this research, and you will look at it as a real viable opportunity for an economically and environmentally sustainable future for Mundy. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you very much. Jordan, do we have any other comments this evening?
Yes, Mr. Chair. The next comment's been submitted by Donald Boyd of Fenton, Michigan, on the topic of board meetings. Here we go again, gathered for yet another special board meeting as called by Chair Andy. I'm not an analyst, but it doesn't take one to see that this board chair doesn't seem to efficiently run a board. Andy doesn't realize it or care the cost, the time, and the effort it takes to run one of these, much less the disruptive behavior of scheduling them on a whim. Imagine you've driven all your businesses into the ground with this behavior. A shame on trustees Janet, Jeff, and Wendy blindly following and voting along with him. I certainly hope the voters in this county realize the time, money, and effort you four waste and never vote you into office again. You may have come to the college to keep a fiduciary eye on things, but from my chair, I see you four are a time and money dump. I'm very disappointed in Andy, Janet, Wendy, and Jeff. I expect better. Frankly, we all do. If you're unable to do better, perhaps stepping aside and allowing Daly, Freeman, or Reyes to run the board makes better sense. I'm an MCC grad, and am disappointed with the waste of time I see in this current board chair. Signed, a grumpy old guy.
Thank you very much. Are there any other comments this evening?
Yes, Mr. Chair. Bobby Walton of Davison, Michigan submitted comment on the topic of interim president applicants. While this board is busy making decisions on choosing the next president of Mott College, the public is paying attention. This is an important job. We need to trust you to do a good job. We need to trust you to follow the standards of keeping your actions open and transparent to the public. As I've said many times, your executive board has not engendered trust. The way you have violated the public trust and the open meetings law is lying to your constituents. I have no trust in people who tell lies, which is why I watch your work closely. When the Personnel Committee produced 5 candidates for the board to consider, we did not have the candidates' names. Last week, when we were given the names, we were able to do our own research to decide which we would like to see hired. I've been concerned about one name that popped up on the list because there is no reason for them to be included. Shonda Richardson Snell is this person. It is puzzling how she made the cut. If we look at management experience in higher education, if we look at the standards and expectations in the job announcement, Ms. Richardson Snell's background does not meet expectations. If work in finance and stock market IPOs were needed, why was this left off the announcement? Whether I have concerns about the number of LLCs Ms. Richardson Snell has founded or helped found, she is actively involved in 3. These are mostly in the realm of financial investments or property development. In addition, she formed a 501c3 corporation a few years ago that doesn't seem to be doing much. Not much money and no activity. How can a college president oversee the administration of a college and take care of these kinds of obligations? I'm concerned that some of them might present a conflict of interest. In addition to these concerns, I have others I won't go into tonight. This is enough for you to think about. Why did this person make the cut from a pool of 25 applicants? Why did she even apply? Is it clear to me she is not meeting the standards or expectations of the job description of the president? So who recommended her? I would like all candidates to be asked if they are recruited for this position, either by a member of the board or some advisor to the board. Any of these 3 candidates would be fine. I do believe the decision by the board to discard the idea of making Jason Wilson the acting president until a president is chosen was a mistake. By following through on this time-consuming and costly exercise to find an interim president, this board is letting the taxpayers down. Wasting money and other resources is not evidence of good management. Neither is lying to your constituents. It may impact on your future ambitions.
Thank you very much. Are there any other?
Yes, Mr. Chair. Comments been submitted by Sean Murray, City of Flint, on the topic of board policies interim president. Hello, Board of Trustees. At this point, it is more than evident that the Board of Trustees has its own agenda in the betterment of Mott Community College, and the most important factor, the students are not at the forefront of your agenda. Except for Michael Freeman and Art Reyes, the others are not acting in good faith under the policies and regulation for the Board of Trustees. Under Policy 1240, governance style, the requirements of the Board of Trustees are to act in the best interest of the college and the community as a whole. The board will govern with a style that emphasizes outward vision, encourages diversity in viewpoints, and makes collective decisions, distinguishes clearly between the board's role and the president's role, distinguishes between board policy and the administrative execution of policy, plans for the future, acts proactively to maintain a smooth transition, and makes the most sense to have VP Jason Wilson as the acting president while the search for the president is underway. This foolishness of the interim or an acting interim president is a waste of time and taxpayers. Not to mention, it's unclear as to why Wendy Wolcott is adamant about writing her own interview questions and having the questions approved by the unqualified board attorney. The board is inexperienced, ineffective, and acting of their scope of responsibility, and it's continuously harming Mott Community College. Again, Mott has an experienced human resources department and relationships with third-party companies who know what they are doing in this regard. Let them do their job the way they are capable. And now Sherry Nowak has resigned effectively in October. This board is single-handedly dismantling the college. We will not sit by and watch you continue to destroy the college. Under Policy 5008, Board Employee Communication, the board wishes to maintain open channels of communication between itself and employees of the college. Official lines of communication will be through the president. The following basic policy statements apply. Board members and employees share a keen interest in schools and in education. However, since individual board members have no special authority except when they are convened at the legal meeting of a board or vested with special authority by board action, discussions between board members and employees related to medical information of employees, personnel issues, grievances, and contract negotiation is inappropriate and may violate state law, contractual agreements, attorney-client privilege, and expose the board member, staff member to sanctions or disciplinary measures. Andy Everman continues to misuse his perceived power during this process. If Mott continues down this avenue, it is destined to loss its funding and accreditation, which will be the fault of this ineffective board of trustees who have an agenda and to lead the college in the absolute wrong direction. Again, we expect the board to act in accordance with Policy 5813, civility, encourages and promotes an environment of civility and mutual respect. Once again, Andy Everman, your behavior is out of control and will not be tolerated.
Thank you very much. Are there any other comments from the public this afternoon?
Yes, Mr. Chair, we have one more comment that's been submitted by Jessica Sharp of Paris, Michigan, and will speak on the topic of Monday Megasite.
Here I'm with Edra of Michigan, and I'm going to back up the prior comments just to show how this is possible and how excited the people of these communities that are looking at obstacles for the environment, we can solve that. I'm invited here to talk about development alternatives for the Monday Megasite, specifically about the role of local volunteer networks that can facilitate these projects. Okay, I've been from here to Lansing, and I'm from way up north in Paris, Michigan, but I've been to several of these communities, and I've met with these people, and they're distraught over the decision-making that's happening. So with EDRA, we found a much better, viable way to help these communities have the income flow and the structure from top to bottom, and that's the connectivity that we're about. Volunteers, the volunteers that are going up against these megasites are more than willing and capable of helping this process go through for everything that Marjorie talked about as far as food hubs. This is something that's going to enhance Pure Michigan back to where it is from these decisions that would totally hinder the environment, okay? Volunteer corps, all organizing is by the volunteers. We're there for the good things, you know, not just what we don't like, and that's what we're saying. There's a population here across the state, across the country, okay? We're committed to improving the community. We will fight against bad developments or for good ones. The good ones is what we're looking for. I'm a grandmother of 12 grandchildren. I'm native culture through my husband. You're taught to prepare the next 7 generations, not just the green that flows into you at the moment. And when you have beautiful people in your community looking for way better ways to take care of your future generations, that's a hallmark for every community across this state and country, because we've been inundated with this Megasite agenda. Okay? Conduct stakeholder input sessions, organize fundraising events, and conduct surveys and petitions, as she said earlier. We have had successful events in our community for connectivity. We don't get paid to do this. We've done this out of the compassion for our communities and our future generations, the connectivity for the small business, and the definite fact that the children are speaking out at these meetings as well, and they want agriculture preserved. What happened to Monday was absolutely unnecessary. or Marshall, Michigan. We don't want it to happen to Monday, okay? So I'm hoping and praying that you see the value in this and reach out to us, because it's good for everyone from top to bottom. And I appreciate your time. You have a good night.
Thank you. Jordan, are there any other comments from the public?
That concludes public comment for tonight.
Okay. Board members, I would like to ask your indulgence for a moment. It's under President's Report, item number 2. I would like to bring that forward and have that report given now so everyone that's here can hear this report from our administration. Without objection, we will do this. Are there any objections? Seeing none. Mr. President, will you bring that report forward now at this time?
Certainly. I'm going to call to the desk Associate Vice President Robert Matthews to discuss really the timeline or the chronology of how the college got involved in this particular project and the extent of our involvement. And then I'll have some comments after Mr. Matthews talks.
Thank you, Mr. Acting Interim President, and good evening, trustees, Mr. Chair. Just want to share with you the history and a chronology of the college's involvement up to this point. So in the fall of last year, the Flint and Genesee Group made an announcement and shared some information about the Advanced Manufacturing District at their Regional Leadership Council meeting. They shared some of the research on the project and the project background. The Regional Leadership Council consists of 40 organizations, leading organizations in the community, and MCC president typically has a seat on the Regional Leadership Council. In January of this year, an invite was sent to the Regional Leadership Council members asking them to consider signing or drafting a letter of support. That letter then subsequently went to the president, and the president asked for the executive cabinet to review the letter and provide some comments and some feedback as to whether or not the college should support. After review of that, the executive cabinet members recommended support, and I'll tell you the primary reasons associated with that recommendation. So the first was the AMD was promoted as one of the most significant workforce and economic development priorities for the state and the county, and had the potential to create numerous good-paying jobs for our community. The second is that the college is seen, and often workforce development, economic development, and talent development get intertwined. The college offers customized training and education programs for employers throughout our community, which is consistent with our mission. And we had done similar things for projects with Lear, Consumers Energy, and then with Fessler and Bowman, and we saw it to be consistent with what we had done with those other projects that were bringing and creating jobs for our community. In February of this year, the letter of support was submitted to the Flint and Genesee Group. And as mentioned earlier, it did not necessarily indicate support for any one company or specific industry. Should note that there are a couple of follow-up things after the submission of the letter. We were contacted and asked to provide some comments for the Michigan Strategic Fund meeting back in May, and then in June, we were contacted to provide some photo and video footage of the Regional Technology Center to show the assets that exist in our community that are supportive of training individuals in advanced manufacturing and emerging technologies. And then there was also a request for an interview from a reporter from the Gander newsroom. That request and interview is pending, so no response has been given to them to date.
Questions for the
Trustees,
board?
do you have any question for Robert Matthews before Jason speaks. Yes, Michael.
So just to be clear, specific to the support which was being touted by this college, it was really more support for the economic partnership. It wasn't about the specific site or the project. It was just broadly about job creation in Genesee County.
It does mention the advanced manufacturing district, but not specific to industry or specific to company. It's really for the readiness of the site to attract companies, not a specific company or specific industry.
So follow up for the chair. So basically, this might be a slight misrepresentation of the college and our position with this entire project when they list out the 20 supportive partners.
So I think someone may have mentioned it earlier that we get approached lots of times from companies and or from economic development entities. It could be MEDC, it could be the local economic development agency, attempting to either attract new companies and new jobs or to retain jobs. And so when they're doing that, they will ask us for, sometimes it's a letter of support, sometimes they'll come to us and just say, you know, we're looking for jobs that are associated with robotics. Can you train persons who are looking for jobs in robotics? Can you, or how many graduates have you had in the last couple of years? So we'll provide that type of information for them. And if it's something that we don't currently do, then we're looking at, is it something that we could do?
One final, just more statement. My entire job is based on brownfield redevelopment, and that we believe that trying to reactivate brownfields is critical to our future and making them productive parcels in our community. And I have a lot of questions about greenfield development, and especially the environmental impacts, just because we've seen even General Motors. I mean, Chevy Commons is, it's a redevelopment of a brownfield that was really contaminated because of a lot of many years of unregulated activities on that site, which fortunately we're doing something with now. But I think that we need to be very careful when it comes to the environmental impact of any economic development activities, because we don't need more brownfield in Genesee County. So I would have a lot of questions about what treatment looks like, what is going to really happen on this site, who owns this, is this an American company, are they, accountable to the American people as well, and that the activities on that site don't cause harm to the people who live around it, because that's another thing is like, I'm sorry, like the 1,000 or plus households who live around this site, we really have to think about their life, their quality of life. So I think we have a lot of questions if we're to be supported or supportive of this project, which it doesn't really sound like it's a true representation of what's out there. Thank you.
Mr. Chair.
Yes, Wendy.
I was actually going to say the same thing. Last week I had a constituent reach out to me asking me about this and came at me and wanted to know what was going on. I was clueless because I had no idea that Mott supported it. This was the first I ever heard this when Tyler got up and said Mott supports this. When the community hears that Mott supports this, they think we're all in. And so we've never spoke about this before on the board. Not once have we ever even spoke about this. So I think maybe you should change the way that you do say that, because right now the community thinks that Mott is 100% on board with this, and I am not.
Thank you, Wendy. Trustees, any other comments before Jason speaks? Jason?
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the community. The college understands deeply the balance between economic development and community sustainability. Economic development at the cost of a community creates a distressed community. We know that better than most. So I want to thank the community for bringing all of these questions to our attention the way you have. to Mr. Matthews' report, we're approached often in very general, vague terms. We're not approached with the level of specifics that the citizens have brought to us today. And so we take those concerns very seriously. We will ask those questions on your behalf as representatives of you. And I want to be very clear that the college serves the community. The college serves the community. And we always have that in mind when we make the decisions that we make. So we take this seriously, and we will continue doing our due diligence. I believe Madam from EDRA has provided us with some information. I will certainly, I know you gave that to him, but I certainly will follow up with you as well. We look to get more informed about the issue, but the college's mission is to support economic development, thriving in the community. We're approached often in very general terms, and so we support those terms. So that part needs to be understood. Now that you're giving us some more information, that causes us to look deeper into what we're talking about. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Mr. Chair?
Board.
Go ahead, please.
If the board wishes to take a position on this, to give direction to the administration on what you would like to see happen or not happen in the future, I will be glad to entertain that motion. Is there a motion? Mr. Freeman.
Mr. Chair, I make a motion that we notify the partnership that before they further use our name as one of the partners, that we should receive full and transparent information about what this project even is. Because we have not gotten, we've got nothing. So I'd like to see a full report on everything that is being suggested. We can't blindly just fall into this. And so I would
Michael,
prefer that we make that
before you
contact.
go too much further, don't lose it, because Jordan's got to get it down, and it was rather long. So let's make sure we get it all down correctly.
Okay, I'll craft a better motion. I make motion that we notify the partnership not to use our name until we have had the opportunity to review and understand the full breadth and scope of this project.
Second.
And we have a second from Wendy. Do you have it all down, Jordan?
So Trustee Freeman motions to notify the partnership not to use the college's name until they have an opportunity to review and understand the full breadth of the, what was the last word on that?
Of the proposed project.
And then Trustee Wolcott seconded the motion.
We have a motion. We have a second. Is there further discussion from the board? I have one, maybe two comments. I appreciated the folks that came in to talk to us about this and make us aware of this. This was not something that was even on our radar screen, that it was a concern of our community. And as we all agree at this board, we represent the entire community, not a special interest group. Thank you for coming in and talking to us and letting us know. That's my comment. Without objection from the board, I would like to do a roll call vote on this. And before we do the roll call vote, once again, I would like Jordan to reread the motion.
So Trustee Freeman motioned to notify the partnership to not use the college's name until they have an opportunity to review and understand the full breadth of the proposed project. Trustee Wolcott seconded the motion.
Michael.
Aye.
Sue.
Aye.
Wendy.
Aye.
Jeff.
Aye.
And myself, aye. The motion passes unanimously. Now, Chair, trustees, we're going to go back to the item number 6, special presentations.
Oh, Mr.
And-
Chair, can I make one request? I believe that we missed the opportunity to publicly recognize Sally Shaheen Joseph and her passing. She was a trustee of many years. I was able to attend her visitation and funeral, and I was there with her family. I actually became very good friends with her children, and it was very sad. But her legacy to this college and this community was remarkable. What she did, and if we could have a moment of silence here in her memory, I would appreciate that.
Absolutely. Trustees, a moment of silence for Sally Shaheen Joseph, former trustee. Thank you. Jordan, we have a special presentation, Institutional Advancement Year-End Report. Mr. Dale Wayhill, could you cue it up for us?
Mr. Chair, if I could, I'd like to recognize Dale for coming in on his birthday. He is on vacation, and I appreciate him showing up. And
Always working for the
I hope
college.
that makes him feel better.
It does. Will you all sing at the end of this? It's also a vacation day, but I'm happy to be here. This is the 9th time I presented an annual report from the Office of Institutional Advancement. This office was brought together by President Dr. Beverly Walker Graffia 9 years ago. She pulled together a variety of offices that had been operating independent of one another and created the Office of Institutional Advancement, knowing that we would be greater than the sum of our parts. And this year has been one of our most prolific years. And I want to I think there's only one staff member in all of IA. We've got about 25 staff. Lynetta Coney, the president of our foundation, is sitting behind me. Would you give her a round of applause for her contributions? So to start out, we do two things fundamentally for the college. We tell the story of MCC through marketing and communications, and we also raise resources, aside from the property taxes and the tuition and the state aid that we get. Private resources generated through grants and traditional fund development. You have in your packet, I think, printed out, but also virtually, the details of the report, but I'm really going to hit on just some of the highlights. It doesn't necessarily match that, but most of what I'm saying is in this document that you can read at your leisure. So let's start out with fund development, resource generation, and grants. A total of $23 million was generated by institutional advancement personnel working in partnership with others across the college. I want to make it clear that anytime we write a grant, it's not something that we spend when we get it. It's something that others at the college spend, and in every situation, we're involved with people in academic affairs, student services, and workforce and economic development primarily to make these grants happen. So $23 million was generated in grand total. Of that number, we have 6 strategic funding priorities here at the college. Diversity, equity, inclusion is one, student success and support, employee success and support, closing the achievement gap, the Lenore Crowdy Family Life Center, and the Centennial Scholars Fund in honor of our 100th anniversary. Those 6 priorities alone were $19.3 million of that $23 million. So the balance was generated almost $800,000 through the foundation for non-priorities, and then $2.4 million through the grants function of IA for non-strategic funding priorities. But again, $23 million, which I think is the largest amount that we've generated out of IA in partnership in 9 years. The foundation for Mott Community College has over $11 million in its corpus. The foundation provided a total of $400,000 directly to the college to support our marketing and enrollment efforts, communication efforts, but also $40,000 to send our students abroad. You know that global and international studies is part of one of our goals, and so $40,000 from the foundation sent students to different countries the past year. We hosted the annual Mott, Motown, and More Celebrity Lip Sync and made $40,000. For the first time ever, we were in the Capitol Theater downtown, moved off campus and went downtown and made history at the Capitol. That was during the centennial celebration, but it was our annual fundraiser for the Student Emergency Fund. In terms of marketing and communications at the college, We have executed a paid marketing campaign focused on general enrollment, 37 million impressions. These come from the billboards, the radio, the TV commercials, the print ads we do, the digital, the display, and the social media. 20.5 million engagements from all those. 43,843 social media followers. Social media includes Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, and now X, which is formerly Twitter. Our College Information Center, they're the frontline folks who you do not see, but they're part of IA and they're located physically in the RTC. They're a mighty band who answered just over 38,000 incoming calls, many from potential students and current students who need information in order to either come here or stay at the college. The marketing communication staff, 109 press releases over the course of the year. Those 109 press releases generated 938 media hits. So when you see Matt Franklin on the ABC 12 News talking about Mott at 11 o'clock, probably he's doing that story because we issued a press release out of our office. Marketing also supported not only general enrollment, but very unique niche campaigns. So the mini-mester that we now have in December and January, marketing supported that for the second time. $25,000 has come in for the Michigan Reconnect expansion. We're going to be using that to target 21 and up without a college degree, specifically with new marketing between now and the fall. We also were used by the state, I shouldn't say used, but we were a test pilot because we're so far ahead in terms of our Michigan Reconnect work that they had us work with our student academic services folks and come up with what it was called Reconnect Day, which was Saturday, June the 8th. There were 350 attendees for that. And again, the focus is on people 21 and up who don't have a college credential but could come under the Michigan Reconnect program to MCC. Something that the board will know a lot about, our stone signs were put up over the course of the last fiscal year, as well as the digital boards. All of the digital boards are now running and working. I hope you've seen the one, especially here at the north end of Main campus. Beautiful imagery. There's one at Workforce as well, one out in Lapeer, and one at Southern Lakes. Those are now being programmed exclusively by marketing and communication staff with input and support from Workforce, Southern Lakes, Lapeer, and people on Main campus. Then the last highlight I'll mention under marketing that's very a niche initiative, Hispanic outreach has been a goal of Interim President Wilson and former President Dr. Walker Grafia. Our Hispanic enrollment is going up. And one of the things that we've done in marketing is focused on Spanish-speaking users of Facebook. We got 181% higher than the industry average click-through rate on the digital media that we ran, social media towards those people. And then also iHeart Spanish streaming radio. We had a number of 30-second spots there. And then lastly, under other duties as assigned, this was a big year for that category within institutional advancement. I chaired the Centennial Celebration Committee, and it was over the course of a year leading up to the fall. Our anniversary was the 23rd of September. We had all sorts of activities that we poured our work and souls and lives into here at the college. We had several centennial lectures. One was on the athletic tradition at the college, done at Sloan Museum. We had centennial concerts. The last one was the Dave Bennett Band over here, Mott Memorial Building on the day of the centennial. We had a parade through downtown Flint. I know Trustee Wolcott, you were in that parade, as were others. We had a full day open house and expo here at the college where you could walk through the buildings, see what's going on. And then we culminated that evening with a fireworks show over historic Kersley Park. And the last thing I'll mention is that we've raised over $300,000 for the Centennial Scholars Fund. And so we do a lot of work for the college. A lot of it, I think, is below the waterline and under the radar. But I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have on behalf of institutional advancement. Thank you.
Trustees, are there any questions for institutional advancement? Seeing none, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Happy birthday.
Thank
Is
you.
the cake out in the lobby?
Wonderful. I'll look for it.
Informational Technology Service Quarterly Report. Randy?
Good evening, Mr. Chair, Acting Interim Vice President Jason Wilson. My name is Randy Chappell. I'm the Acting Chief Technology Officer for Mott Community College, and I'm here presenting the ITS Quarterly Report. I will say that I don't think our report is as glamorous as Dale's here, but I want to say that we serve the college effectively in our department. We help everybody. We make emails, get places where they're going. We make sure the computers start up and they get fixed. We make sure for those phone calls, those 38,000 phone calls, get to the people who need to answer them. So we act as a kind of a sub-layer at the college. We kind of support all the different areas. Within that realm, we handle tickets. These are people who may call the help desk asking for assistance. You can see here, next slide if you would. We serve anywhere from a few hundred to close to 1,000 tickets a month that were coming into the help desk at different times of the years. These tickets come in, and these can range from anything from changing a password to having to replace a whole series of computers in the computer lab. We have things that come in all the time, and this is what our team does. We kind of act and we kind of make sure things are happening. Next slide, if you would. Inside of that, we had some general projects. We have a data retention and disposition project that's, I'm going to use the word, I'm going to use quotes, and are ending in July 2024. This is we're submitting their lists to the states about how long we keep records. And as part of this is also destruction of records, and that can take a little bit longer by the individual departments. Some of these paper records have been around for a long time, and it can take us 3-6 months to go ahead and actually get rid of them all. So this isn't done, but it's a lot of this is going to be filed by as we kind of move forward here. Another key large initiative we have here at the college is we're starting on the generative AI pilot group. And what this is essentially is helping our employees start using AI, that is generative AI, in their work. And the way we're doing that is it's not so much that we can show people exactly what they need to do with it, but what we can do is we give them the guardrails. We can say, listen, don't do this with it. Don't put this type of information in it. Don't put your social security number in it. Don't put in your first novel to have it review it, because what happens is a lot of these public models consume that and they basically ingest it. But what we can still use the tool. There's still effective ways that we can use this, and that's what we do is we give that general guidance to tell them what is safe ways to do this. And then within those guardrails, they can use it and experiment with it to hopefully find good ways they can accelerate their job functions as they move forward. Next slide, if you would. Inside of our enterprise services department, this is, we do a number of different projects in here. We work with the different student services in different areas of the college on our ERP system. That's the Illusion product that we approved just last month here for a new 5-year contract. But the accounts receivable tuition process changes, annual security audit. This is where we go through and we look at all the different settings that we have for permissions, who has what and who has what. It's a common misconception that we want everybody to have access to everything. That isn't the case. We exist under what we call least privilege, and what that idea is that while even inside our department, I don't have access to everything, and that is the correct way to run. We sub-compartmentalize who has access to what, and that helps us maintain a nice secure environment is just an example in there. And the security audit helps us do that with the employees at the college. As we have people move from job to job at the college, they may need to adjust those, right? You have one person go to one department, they don't need access to what they used to do. So we go ahead and we adjust that as we move forward. The Career and Technical Education Program, Laser Fresh Workflows, Cognos Major Version Update. Cognos is a system that we use for reporting at the college. This is what produces all our fancy reports. It helps us, have the data distributed that people need to do their job effectively. All these systems need to be maintained, and so the version update, while seemingly just a couple words on a piece of paper, takes hours and hours of work behind the scenes. And it's one of those those things that are built up underneath. As we continue to go through here, we have degree and pathway APIs integration, web page updates. We have integration changes to students, adults, integration changes to support adult service, support adult student success center. I should have said that a few more times before I got here. New student employee processes, vector solution software integration for training. Some key highlights we have coming up, and this is some of the things that was approved last month here. The colleague Ethos API integration. What this is going to help us bring together a whole bunch of different systems at the college to kind of work more cooperatively and streamline the processes. EduNav is a way, we mentioned this last month, again, is to bring better services and better planning to both student services and to our students. And financial aid reporting changes as, everything changes. we keep up with it as it goes. ITS network services, so we have wireless at the college. We have hundreds, actually over 700 access points at the college. These all act together as a team, and this is something we have to go through. We have to map this out. We have to make sure coverage is where it needs to be and go ahead and tweak that as it goes on. It's kind of like a living creature almost. Recycling, this is kind of a little different for us. We're doing a recycling campaign for old printers. So we have a very large entity, 1 million square foot of campus. We have devices and computers in different areas. Printers are one of those things that get set up, they get placed, and they don't always get used over time. They get old, and we have them. So what we're doing right now is we're encouraging our staff to let us know where things are that, that may not be used anymore. And we're using reports that we have to generate that as well and kind of suggest some changes and be more effective in how we're doing things. And it's working very well for us. We have over 50 people, 50 printers that have already been requested to be recycled. We also have the upgrade of the network that was approved last month. That's going to take us probably 6 months or so, maybe a little bit more into next year as we kind of get through there. And that's going to improve our reliability, and that's a major project for the networking area. We're going to be evaluating new, easier-to-use phone systems and safer phone systems. This is going to be a big project as we move into next year, and then finally the migrating to a new MFA. Well, not very flashy. It will help save the college about $100,000 over 3 years, actually. Sorry about that. And that's an example of something that we do to also cost cut, right? So we're not just spending money. We're also trying to look and see how we could save money on different systems as we move forward. ITS computing support services. We're preparing for the employee mobile computer transition. You guys last month you approved the computer replacement cycle, so that's part of that process. We have to get those in, figure out how we're going to do that, and review them, and then get those purchased. We have a new open computer lab that's opening in Curtis Mott 2006. We have anti-plagiarism detection software. This is important these days to help us, to help our faculty, be able to have tools that they need to help teach effectively and to make sure the classes run the way they want them to. Student laptop, mobile cart devices. We have things going to TRIO, student services, math empowerment, electronics, and dental services as well. And the big project for that area is going to be the continuation of the rolling out of new computers for employees, which is going to take anywhere from a year to 2 years, really. We don't know the exact time and how long it's going to take. It's a process. Let's just put it that way. ITS Media Services, we had the graduation. That was in the last few months. LERTA graduation. These are all big events. These folks who come in here run these microphones and speakers and make sure they work for us. They do a fantastic job, and I'm appreciative to them every month for you guys. I tell them that all the time, and they also come in for all these other special events. They're here on weekends. They work long hours, and very appreciative of them. The RTC also went under the auditorium, went under emergency maintenance. We had a projector there blow out. These things aren't cheap. Very complex setup was replaced with a more streamlined solution that was more cost effective and hopefully will last for a very long time. Information security updates. These are the things that help us keep us secure. We have so many things here at the college, so many ways and outs. The best we can do is continue to operate in a way where we go through them, do our best to kind of mitigate and make sure we're being as secure as we can in all the different systems. One big one for this year was the implementation of a new SOC service. We moved to a new provider called Arctic Wolf, and what these folks do is they take a whole bunch of the system logs. All this information is being generated by our systems. Someone accessed this, someone opened a document or downloaded a document. We take all that information, they send it over to them, and they read that. Right? Well, there's not people doing it, but they have the systems that do it. And what they look for is patterns. Okay, so if we see a bunch of documents being downloaded, well, maybe we should take a look at that. They help us, they key us into that, they help us find those little holes and prevent the data leaks. And that's what we want to do here. We don't want our information flowing out where we don't want it to go. Tuning that becomes an ongoing nation. It's an ongoing project, something we're not going to be done with anytime soon. And we also finalized system hardening for Windows servers. It's a little nebulous, but we go through and we actually continually tweak and modify how we protect our systems. But thank you for your time, and if there's any questions, I'm happy to help.
Trustees, are there any questions? Seeing none, thank you very much.
Thank you, everyone.
We now move on to item number 7. Approval of minutes. On approval of the regular meeting minutes of May 20th, I believe we had a concern about the address that was incorrect to the city. Jordan?
So it's page 631K, and it says Ann Figueroa of Vassar. The correction would be Ann Figueroa of Mount Morris. And that's on page 631K.
Okay. Are there any other corrections from the trustees? Seeing none, I would entertain a motion to approve the regular meeting minutes of May 20th, 2024.
So moved.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second?
We have a second. Any further discussion?
Just for clarification, it's approval of minutes as amended.
Okay.
That change.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Approval of the minutes as amended. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 All those opposed, nay. Passed unanimously. Approval of special meeting minutes of June 13th, 2024. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Okay, we have a motion and we have a second.
Second.
Okay, any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, nay. Passed unanimously. Informational reports. Number 8, accept and understanding board committee reports. Finance Committee held no meeting. Personnel, Wendy?
Yes, we did have a meeting, and in the front room there should be the minutes on the table.
Thank you. Board Policy Committee, there was no meeting was held. The Goals and Objectives Committee, there was no meeting held. The Ad Hoc Committee, the meeting was held and the minutes are available. New business, individual items. 2.18, appointment of the Michigan Community College Association Board of Directors representative. As chair, I nominate John and Wendy. Is there any objection? Seeing none, is there a motion to move forward with that?
I'll make the motion.
Motion, do we have a second?
Second.
We have a second. All those, any discussion?
Mr.
All
Chair,
those in favor? Yes.
just for clarification on that item 2.18, would trustee Daly be appointed as trustee director again, and then trustee Wolcott being appointed
This is
as
backup,
Yes.
alternate? Okay.
yes. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. 2.19, American Association of Community Colleges. I nominate myself and Jeff. Is there any objection?
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
I do not wish to be nominated.
You wish what?
I wish not to be nominated.
Okay, do we have somebody else that would like the position? Sue? Sue,
I heard you.
you take it?
Yes.
Okay. Is there a motion to move forward with this?
I'll make the motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
We have a second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. .20, Association of Community College Trustees Representative. I nominate Wendy and Art. Is there
That's
a
for the-
motion to move forward with this?
For the ACCT?
Yes.
No,
You don't want it?
I don't. I believe Michael should be on that, and then I should be second. Since Sue took 2.19, I can take 2.20 with Michael. And I make that a motion, that
Wait a
Michael
minute.
becomes
It's
the,
the nomination
Support.
by the chair. So I have made the nomination of you and Art.
I deny that.
You deny yours. Okay. So I make the nomination of Art and Michael. Michael, would you take that?
That was Art and you. I thought, wasn't your motion that it would be
I
me and then you
recognize
the
no
second?
motion at that time, and please direct your comments to
Yeah.
the chair.
So I heard the motion, the initial motion that was made by Wendy was that I would be the representative and should be alternate.
I make no recognition of her motion.
What do you mean?
Because it
It's-
was
a motion's
my
been made by the
choice to
board.
select.
You can't
So
stop.
I
if-
have
I made a
if it's-
motion, Mr.
If
Chair.
it's been motions made and seconded, you can't deny that. You actually have to then run
Mr.
the
Chair.
Robert's rules.
If I didn't hear it, it didn't happen.
Mr. Chair,
Yes,
I
Wendy?
made the motion that Michael become the representative for ACCT, and then I be the second on with him.
I seconded that motion.
Okay, so we have Michael and Wendy. You have nothing for Art.
Well,
All those in favor
Art's not
signify
here
by
to
saying aye.
say if he wants it or not.
Trustee Freeman currently has a term until 2025 on the Board of Directors for
Okay, but we didn't
ACCT.
appoint him to anything. So, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 All those opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Aye. Discussion of background checks of candidates for interim president, 2.21. Ladies, would you please come forward now? So the background checks will be completed by July 8th, as I last understood. Has that stayed the same?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. And the contract and information that we had the candidates sign to begin their background checks, that has been sent on to the board attorney for review. Had been requested the other day. Did that get taken care of?
Can you repeat that?
Pardon?
No.
Can you repeat that?
The contract that the
Oh.
candidates had to sign for the review, was that sent to the board attorney for review?
No, not yet.
Not yet, okay, but it will be,
Yes.
okay, thank you. Is there anything else under the background checks that you need to share with us at this time?
No.
Okay. Okay,
Mr. Chair, I have a concern.
yes,
In our board packet, we have a proposal from an RH Perry and Associates that has actually been in two of our binders that is addressed to you, specific to search services for the interim president, right? So this is a proposal from someone who is outside of a request for proposals, so outside of procurement. Within this, and in particular, I see, well, number one, that's a violation of procurement, because essentially
Please
it's
direct
just
your
an
comments
individual.
to the chair, Mr.
Okay,
Freeman.
so I definitely will. So in here, we not only see repeated references to if the interim becomes the permanent and what their fee structure is. I also see that there is information listed in here which was discussed in a closed session. So it's a violation of our closed session that was shared with someone who was being procured outside of procurement. So that's a serious violation, right? In fact, there's legal implications. In fact, our board attorney, what is the legal ramification for sharing information outside of a closed session?
you done?
I'm asking our board
Well,
attorney for
I will
clarification.
answer most of your
I
question
think
why
I
it's
deserve,
in
well, it's
there.
about you, so of course you're going to shut it down. But I would like to hear from our attorney. I'm asking through the chair, I'd like to hear from our board attorney what happens when there's a violation of our closed session.
There has to be a timeline here. Remember, go back to what the board appointed for the ad hoc committee and the time frame.
No one
And each one of
asked
the
for
ad
you
hoc committee
individual, no one,
members
Mr.
were
Chair, point of
required
order,
to
and point of
look for-
information. You do not have the
Mr.
right to procure
Freeman, I
a
am
service
speaking, so
outside of
please
procurement.
contain
We
yourself
have
for
no,
just a moment.
did we
Mr.
agree for
Freeman?
there to be a request for proposals? Did we agree? No. This was independently, you asked for a cost proposal for someone to do this, which was not procurement. We are federally funded. We have to follow procurement. Right? I
Mr.
work
Freeman,
with it
I
all the
asked
time.
if
I
you were
work
done
with this.
speaking.
I work
I've
with all the
indulged
time.
you far enough.
You've
turn
not,
off his
because you're
microphone.
actually trying to brush this under the rug, and I'd like
Please
to
turn
hear
off
from
his
our attorney.
microphone.
Thank you.
The answer to your question.
From
the
our
ad hoc
attorney.
committee, when we met, there were three of us, Mr. Daly, Mr. Swanson, and myself. And we were all supposed to make an outreach, and it was agreed at that committee
You
that
did
it would
it
be
outside
done.
of procurement without, you need four votes.
No, we can't have
You need
four
four
people
votes.
at those committees because
that's
we
why
don't
it
make
comes to the full
decisions.
board.
We were given the authority by
a committee
the board
cannot
to
do
do
it.
it.
The
Michael,
committee, sir,
Michael,
this is out of order.
Michael, you're
This
out
is
of order
this is
once
out of
again.
order.
I'm speaking
You
and
have
answering your
done
question.
something illegal
Please
and
turn off
wrong.
his
You have
microphone.
done something illegal and
Jordan,
wrong.
you have the ability to
I
do
want
that.
to know, you did illegal and wrong. Illegal and wrong.
Mr. Chair, can we hear from the attorney?
Yes.
All right, I'm not sure exactly what the alleged illegal activity is in this letter of May 15, 2024, but the damages would depend, the consequences would depend on what potential damages were what were incurred. So if there is illegal activity.
Amber explained it to us, sir. Like, as far as an attorney who knows this, she explained to us that you actually could have up to imprisonment. There are laid out, and the Open Meetings Act is actually like all the different things that could happen, right? And I see something glaringly in
Mr.
this
Freeman,
document
might I
which
remind
lists
you
exactly
asked
what was
for,
discussed
and
in a
Wendy
closed
asked
session.
for the chair
Closed
to allow
session.
the attorney to speak, and
If
now
he
you're
gave us
cutting
the
him
right
off.
information, then it
Mr.
would be great to
Freeman,
listen to.
contain yourself.
So,
Mr. Freeman, make your comments to the chair, not to the people in the audience. Now, could you please answer the question?
So I can only answer it in a general sense at this time. This is the first time it's been brought to my attention, and quite frankly, I'm just not going to give a legal opinion without doing a research myself into the Open Meeting Act on this, and I'll be glad to send you a memorandum on this, an email, whatever you want. But I can say in a general sense that the penalties may vary. Yes, there are certain provisions of the Open Meeting Act, if there are violations, which could result in imprisonment, fines, and slaps on the wrist, so to speak. Somebody would have to seek an enforcement action against the violator. Somebody would have to take it to the prosecuting attorney or the attorney general to bring possible legal charges, and those things are possible. But really, without any more, again, I'm just not going to give a strong legal opinion at this time without doing my own research on this and reviewing this letter, because I'm reviewing this letter for the first time myself as well. So.
Mr. Freeman?
At this point, I'm going to excuse myself from this because this is really beyond the pale. This is like what I keep talking about. Look at our audience, read the audience. They're not happy and there are reasons for it. 3 people cannot decide to do an action without a majority of the board. Wendy, when we meet, we know that we can only make recommendations as a committee that go to the board. You did something that actually you acted upon, whether or not 3 people or not. And I don't even know, I wasn't there. Jeff, I don't know that you agreed to do this or whatnot, but or John, and I don't think John would because John knows procurement because he's worked in civil service for so long. But in 2 different board binders, we had the exact same thing printed out, which was a proposal from this Peary and Associates. And I won't disregard the closed meeting because I know what was discussed. But I think if both of you and you, Sue, if you look at it, you'll see what was discussed in closed session. And it's right in here in the cover letter. So we have a violation here. So at this point, this whole interim search, I'm sorry, we're jumping through hoops that are making nobody happy. And quite honestly, my opinion, Jason could have handled this until we find somebody new. And we're doing all this work. How many times have we met? I'm exhausted. Everybody in this audience is exhausted. The executive cabinet's exhausted. I just think at this point, let's focus on finding the president, right? So, good evening. I respectfully am leaving the meeting. And so, my apologies, but I can't. I'm tired.
Thank you very much. Item 2.22, discussion of procurement for contract negotiations for interim president. Ladies, could you assist us here?
I thought that was 2.23.
Can you provide clarification on what 2.22 the agenda item is for that, the procurement? Or is this the process? But 2.23 is...
The contract negotiation for interim president. I will appoint the ad hoc committee to work with the board attorney, the administration. I think Larry Gothrop has worked on contracts before. You're a procurement officer, are you not, Mr. Gothrop? So for the contract negotiations for the interim, in the beginning, we're going to have an outreach to each one of the candidates to discuss with them what they would like, and with you two ladies, the salary range within which they will be offered. And the committee will work with Larry to figure out the benefits and how we will do this. Is there any questions about that?
Mr. Chair, any negotiations with the candidates should be done after. The negotiations aren't going to be the same with every candidate. All right,
That's
some
correct.
may have more to offer the school. The board may deem it necessary to pay them a little more. I'm not sure why we're going over this right now.
Because we may have candidates that determine that they are worth more than we would be willing to pay. That's why we have the attorney make an outreach to them so they can find out what their salary range is and compare it with what our HR has discussed. And Mr. Attorney, can you further explain this?
Well, no, we've had this discussion, and I think we involved Rebecca and Christy in it as well. And there's a lot of ways of going about it. Yes, you could highlight a candidate and vote on this candidate, and after the fact find this candidate wants to be paid $1 million a year to be your interim president. And quite frankly, I don't think that's something, from what I understand, you guys would be willing to do. So then you'd have to kind of go back. So the idea being is that in some way or another, you want to find out in advance whether or not these candidates are willing to fall within a certain salary range that would be acceptable to you as the board. So there's a couple ways that we talked about doing this, and I think in one way was that I could reach out. The other way was that either Christy or Rebecca, when they were in the process of scheduling interviews, they would let it be known to the candidates, this is the range of salary that would likely be awarded to you, and knowing that, are you still willing to go through with the interview process? And I think those are the two alternatives we discussed, and again, you two can correct me if I'm wrong on this.
That is correct. We would like to have the salary range so that we could share that with the candidates before scheduling the interview. So that's something that the board has to decide.
So salary range, when we discussed it, the attorney and I the other day, would be at the top end would be Dr. Beverly. At the low end, we would look at what the salary is for the highest paid either contract or employee at the college. And then we would pay them basically a small amount above that amount. That was what we were looking at for salary ranges from our end. Is there any objections to doing that?
So we're going to let HR reach out to the candidates
Yes,
and give them a range to see if they're interested.
yes.
There's no negotiation going on. It's
Not
just,
at that time.
okay.
So is everybody okay with doing it that way? Because we're going to have to reduce this to a motion in just a moment. Larry, you seem to be wanting to speak, and if you need to come up, please come up.
Is this on? Yeah, okay. If I may, it's just a couple things, and I just want to make sure I understand. So yes, I'll be glad to help with the contract negotiations on the financial end. My concern with that range is we put a range out there, it's going to be quite wide. And I think when you put a top number out there like that, that's what you're going to pay. So if you guys are okay with that number, I just think that needs to be consideration. So I think we should take the information that they were given, that they compiled and got from your sources, I can't remember exactly where they were, come up with a range that's suitable, that's acceptable, and then say it's negotiable from that. But I don't think we should put a range out there, the top end, because I can almost guarantee that's what we're going to pay. So those are just my thoughts. Thank you.
Okay. Trustees, what is your desire to do on this?
I'd like to make the motion that HR will come up with the range and handle it from here on out.
Okay, so that will be our first motion to move forward on this. Is that good, Attorney?
It's fine with me.
No,
Second.
in other words, there's no legal problem there, right? Okay. Do we have a second for that motion?
Second.
Okay. And Jordan, were you able to get the motion all down?
So you motion to have HR come up with a range for candidates, and what was the rest of that? That's it? Okay. Would you like to say interim president candidates?
Sure, for the interim president candidate.
Would you like it to say pay range? So
Yes.
the motion would be to have HR come up with a pay range for interim president candidates? Okay.
I would recommend that salary range.
Salary range? Okay.
You good with that, Wendy? Yes. Okay.
And Trustee Swanson seconded the motion. So the motion stated by Trustee Wolcott is a motion to have HR come up with a salary range for candidates, and Trustee Swanson seconded.
And you guys are going to talk to the candidates about the salary range, correct? Does that need to be reduced into that motion? Bill? Does
It
that need
shouldn't.
to
It
be
is what it
reduced
is,
into that
Mr. Chair.
motion?
I've already made the
I want to
motion.
make sure that we've got everything covered.
I believe it's sufficient.
Pardon?
I believe the motion is sufficient.
Okay. Got the motion, we have the second. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Now, for the rest of that, the contract negotiations for the interim president, I was putting that over in the ad hoc committee with John, Jeff, and myself to look at what other benefits that we were giving our former president that we should be passing along to the new acting or the new interim president. Is that okay with the board?
It's fine with me.
Okay, it needs to be reduced to a motion, so there's no question.
No decisions will be made in there. It's
We
just
can't. It takes the
recommendations.
board. It has to come back to the board. They come up with and talk with the attorney, HR. Probably Larry will be involved in this.
And that's the one that Dr. Daly is in.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. So we have a motion from Jeff to do that. Do we have a second, Wendy?
Second.
Okay.
What was the motion? Did you make a motion?
He made a motion.
Yes, I did.
Okay.
It's to have the ad hoc committee. Well, thank you.
The ad
Sorry,
hoc
they didn't hear
committee.
me. I was trying to help him.
Jordan, did you hear Wendy?
So trustee Swanson motion to have the ad hoc committee do the contract negotiations for interim president candidates.
And bring back to the full board for approval.
Are there any discussion on that? Seeing none, all in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
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 All right.
The ayes have it, there are no nays. Oh, can you guys, ladies, can you think of anything that we're forgetting to take care of this and get that part of it done for contract? Okay. Bill, is there anything that you're concerned that we might have forgotten?
No.
Okay. 2.23, interview process for interim president candidates. Now, you guys can help us. The ladies have a proposal for us to look at. Just as a side note, but is that going to end up on the screen?
No, I have a handout.
Okay, because if we have candidates that watch, we'd ask them to turn off now while we discuss how we do this. Thank you.
Hold on, Mr. Chair, hold on. I'm a candidate, so I'll need to recuse myself at this point.
Okay. I understand there's some cake out there for somebody's birthday.
They will be.
What is she asking?
Okay. Ladies, could you start the process explaining it to everyone?
Okay, so we were asked to provide recommendations on the process for the interim president search interviews. So the first item there is how we schedule candidates. So we know that we have 4 candidates. Normally when we have high-level positions, we contact out-of-state candidates first to ensure that they can make proper flight arrangements for the interview times. Obviously, we need some interview times, so we're hoping that we can receive that information soon. Then we move on to the external candidates, and those are scheduled next on a first-come, first-served basis. And then, as we just discussed, candidates are provided the salary range, and they are informed that other benefits are negotiable. The second item there is just the interview format. We would like to have the candidates arrive 30 minutes prior to their interview time, and HR will just kindly request that the candidate waits in an alternate room until the board is ready for their interview. Once their interview starts, they'll come in and the chairperson will welcome the candidate and request that the board members introduce themselves. And then next, the chairperson will explain the format of the interview. And the board has decided that there will be 14 questions, so that will give 5 minutes for each question. We do recommend that the The candidates aren't provided the interview questions ahead of time, but they do have a copy of the questions in front of them so that they can hear the question, read the question at the same time, and answer the question, but they wouldn't take that with them. Board members would be the ones that would be responsible to ask the questions. All the candidates are asked the same questions, and then at the end of the interview, the candidate may ask 1 to 2 questions. Of course, it's based on the remaining time. And then we, of course, would have a short recess between each interview. Some other interview process protocols to note would be that the board members should take notes during this process. Any inappropriate questions, we recommend that that the board attorney interrupts that process if there is an inappropriate question asked. After the interview, we recommend, and this is just our standard process, so after the interview, we recommend that the board discusses each of the candidates' strengths and concerns as a board, and that provides a format for conversation as a committee. And then, of course, that leads to candidate selection. We do want to draw your attention to, we strongly encourage that a scoring rubric be used to ensure candidates are evaluated consistently and fairly. And then the next item there is interim president questions for the interview. So it talks about the opening, what the chairperson would say to welcome the candidate, the format of the interview, and then we have 14 questions that are being recommended to ask. And each of these areas that will be touched on, which has a question, is representative of all the divisions that we have. So we have leadership questions, we have workforce and economic development questions, academic and student success, we have financial questions, building and grounds questions, institutional advancement, IT, HR, and public safety. So these are the questions that we pared down based on what questions some of you gave to us and some of the questions that we used in the previous interview or the president search. So we just wanted to share that recommendation with you on the interview questions and make sure that they're not too narrow in scope, but they also touch on all the different division areas of the college, and that you would evaluate the candidates based on these areas and make a well-informed decision.
I just want to add something really quickly. We know that you voted in a previous board meeting not to utilize a rubric. However, we feel that could open up the board to potential scrutiny and any claims. It's good to have an objective scoring mechanism for candidates. So if you are interested in that, we know that that would have to be a reconsideration of the board.
Thank you. I would entertain a motion now to accept the report and use this proposal for the interview process, which starts on page 2 with the committee.
Mr. Chairman, may I just add something else?
Yes.
In addition to the rubric being a departure to a previous motion, the board had previously indicated that questions should not be provided in advance. So technically, having a copy of the question sitting at the table where the candidate is could be considered providing the candidates with the questions in advance. So that would also be a change to the prior board decision.
We need to consider the importance of having the questions in front of them during the interview process. It would be my recommendation with, I believe, HRs, that some people, after they hear it, like to be able to look down and read the question so that they stay focused on topic. So how since we're not, right now we have a vote, and Jordan's going to have to go back and look how that vote turned out. I believe it was a roll call vote, because we have to have the people that voted for that to change their vote. Is that not correct, Bill?
No, the majority of those elected can vote on a subsequent matter.
When it's been passed to change it now by Robert's Rules of Order, we have to have those people that passed it decide they want to change their vote and want to reverse that vote. Is that correct?
It should be the ones that voted against it are the ones that can change it.
Make sure, because we don't want to get stuck here doing this incorrect.
So the board, by the majority of the members elected, can take an action, and that can include changing a prior vote, unless your policies and procedures require something else. If you believe that this is, you can also suspend the Robert's Rules of Order for the purpose of, if you believe that if there's a conflict with the Robert's Rules of Order, you can vote again by majority of those elected to suspend the Robert's Rules of Order if you think there's some sort of conflict with that as well.
Okay. Wendy, you had a comment. What was it?
I believe the people that voted against it are the one that can change their vote, but we don't know. Jordan has to look it up. I'm not sure who voted for what that day.
But given what Bill is saying now, if there's a new motion to do this, we'll have a motion, have a second, discuss, and vote.
I'm not sure also if, on this one, if we have to have 2/3 vote or not.
Okay.
So that needs
Bill?
to be looked up. I don't know that one.
Because this is on the agenda.
What you could do is you could vote to approve these recommendations with those two exceptions, no rubric and no providing the questions in advance. You could do that, and that would avoid this issue if you would like to do that. You could take it up as a separate matter to prepare a rubric and bring it to the meeting to when you get to the point where you are discussing the candidates, and you could have a separate vote taken at that time before any vote is provided. There's a lot of processes and procedures you could utilize in order to keep that on the agenda and keep it as a possibility moving forward.
Okay, so Wendy,
Mr. Chair.
Just a minute, Jordan. I'm thinking the easiest way to do this is to go with this right now, except for the two exceptions, the rubric and the questions in front, because those have already been determined, and we would have to have a 2/3. We don't have that.
You say go with this. What do you mean by that?
The document that the two ladies have created for us, and they gave us some explanation on the first page how things would be done. With number 4, they're strongly encouraging us to use a rubric. They could, in fact, get that prepared in case the board decides during the interview to use that. We'd have to vote on it at the beginning. The other thing, and I'm going to have your help, ladies, where that isn't in here, about the candidates having the documents at the table for the candidates. It's number 2C, and it's subset 2 of that. A hard copy of interview questions is at the table for the candidates for reference. That would have to be voted on at the meeting where we do the interviews. And the other thing that would have to be taken care of is number 4, the rubric. Is that okay with the board? Is this the way you want to go through this?
So can you repeat, you're saying to go back then at our next meeting and vote on this?
Yes, we'll determine tonight when we're going to do the interview. And at that time, before we do the interviews, we can take a vote of the board. And if the board decides they want to have the hard copy in front of the candidate as they do the interview, that would happen. And at that time also, prior to the candidate coming in, we will decide whether or not we're going to use a rubric. We can re-vote on that.
I think we're going to have to wait anyways because I believe that calls for a 2/3 vote. So
It
we need to know
would-
that.
Only when we get there. Right now, we're trying to get the rest of it done so that we can move forward with the interview process. Are you good with doing it that way?
Yeah, I'm good with doing it the next time.
Okay.
So then our board's with
Jordan,
us.
I don't think, go ahead.
I just wanted to give you the question, or the answer to your question. So on the board-approved motion back from the June 13th special meeting, there was a roll call vote on the motion to not, or that the questions not be provided to the candidates prior to being interviewed, and it passed 7-0.
I think we should wait until our board's here together. So-
That's where we're headed, Wendy. So that would be whatever the date is that we select to have the interviews. The other thing that might be of interest to us to make sure, during the interview process, under 3, item number B, any appropriate question during the interview will be interrupted by the board attorney. Do we want to give the board attorney the ability to turn off the microphone for the offending trustee?
Well, if these are the questions that we're using, there's none that's appropriate, so I don't think that's going to happen.
There would not be, but if somebody goes astray and the attorney has to question them, do you want the attorney to have that? If you do, then that portion would have to be added for him to have the ability to turn off the microphone. Yes, no, what's your feeling?
What do you guys think? I mean, I don't think we're going to have to worry anything about that, but it's up to you guys.
So we have a list of 14 questions.
They're in front of you.
I understand this. And you want to give the attorney has to have the ability to stop an inappropriate question anyways, I would think, for our behalf.
Yes.
You know,
I don't see the reason for it.
he needs that authority to do that. That's protection for us.
That's why, Wendy, the protection for
I
the board.
understand that. He's going to be there anyway, so he would say that. I didn't
But
understand.
sometimes you can't stop a trustee once they get going. You've seen that this evening. That's why I want to make sure we've got some way to get that taken care of. What is the decision of the board?
If I may, Chairperson?
Yes.
So I have looked at the questions submitted by the various board members that have submitted them to me, and again, only from a legal standpoint as to whether or not they violated any provisions of Michigan law, and I found none. My thought is, if you want me here during the interviews, I will be here. I do not believe it is appropriate to give me the authority to stop a question. I can interject and state that it is an inappropriate question, but I don't believe it should be your board attorney's role to give that person the power to stop that. That would be the chair's role and the use of the peace officers involved if you believe there's some inappropriate action would take place. So based upon the questions submitted, I agree with Trustee Wolcott that I just don't think it's likely that it's going to happen, that somebody's going to go rogue on you and ask an inappropriate question. But that's my 2 cents worth on the matter.
Thank you. Having heard the attorney and agreeing with you, Jeff, do we want to leave it as it is written, where any appropriate question during the interview will be interrupted by the board attorney? That's it. He's not turning the microphones off.
Yeah, that will be fine.
Okay. All right. Wendy, you're good with that, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Sue?
Yes.
Okay. Is there anything else on this document that you guys have questions about that we should be looking at?
I do want to make a statement. There was somebody that had said I was so adamant on making questions or writing questions on this. I got an email from one of you two asking if all of us, many times, because I've seen everybody in there, if we would all submit 2 questions. I submitted my 2 questions, and that was it. I'm not adamant on writing questions or anything like that. I want all of them to be the same. So there's that.
Thank you. As you'll recall, Bill had asked us early on, numerous times at different meetings, to begin thinking of questions, and he did send you the email asking you, and, well, you guys did it. Thank you. Anything else before we go to the next point of looking for a date and then deciding that we're using this? Okay. So given where we're at now, yes, Jeff?
Does a motion have to be made to accept this?
It will be, but we're also going to figure out the date of when we would have it, so we'll tie it all in one motion, if you don't mind, unless you want to do this motion first.
I would just soon do this motion.
Very good. Go ahead and make the motion.
I make a motion that we accept HR's proposal for the interviews after removing the 2C, number 2, and number 4.
For the interim president search
For the-
process.
Yes.
2C.
Huh?
On the
2C.
first page of the document, is
Yeah.
that the one?
Yeah, 2C, the hard copy of the interview.
Okay. So, and that's item number 2 on that.
Yeah.
2C2.
Yes, I thought that's what I
Okay, so
said.
look at 2C to see what all it encompasses,
Yeah.
because under
I said 2C, 2,
Okay, all right.
and number 4.
And you want that removed too?
Correct.
Okay. Having seen the changes to this document, is there a motion, or there's the motion, is there a second?
Second.
I have a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by roll call vote.
Mr. Chair, can I restate the motion?
It's this document, the one that she gave us. Do you have a copy?
I do not.
Okay.
So Trustee Freeman, motion that the board accept.
No, trustee.
or Trustee Swanson, motion that the board accept HR's proposal for the interview questions after removing number 2C2. So, just looking at this.
C2, which is that one. 2C2. Okay.
So how about number 2, Roman numeral 2, or number 2, item C, Roman numeral 2.
Okay.
Okay. And then number 4.
Got everything now?
So with this motion, are you just referring to the approval of the president's search process
The entire project.
or the entire proposal that includes the question? Okay.
And that includes the questions also.
So would you like it to state then that the board accepts HR's proposal for the interview after removing number 2, item C, Roman numeral 2, and item number 4 of the search process document and the proposed questions? That'd be, and Trustee Wolcott, would you second that?
Is there any further discussion? Roll call vote. Sue?
Yes.
Wendy?
Yes.
Jeff?
Yes.
Myself, yes. The motion proposal passes. Thank you for all your work on this. Just a second in case I need to ask you. Okay, the next item that goes with this is the date that we will have the interview. Given the fact that the background checks will be done on the 8th, how will those be shared with the board? Will they be emailed to them, or will they be hard copies sent to them? Hadn't thought that far.
We can share those securely through the email system, or do you prefer?
On the 8th, I am happy to come in and pick it up. I can stop by Jordan's office or your office and pick up my copy. If the other ones want theirs by email, so be it. Bill, do you have any comment on this legally?
Well, without seeing the background check information, I don't know if there's information that would be contained within there that would be otherwise privileged and protected. So I think until I would see the actual reports and the scope of the reports and what information is contained, it's really difficult for me to provide any type of legal advice in that regard.
What time do you think they'll be in on the 8th? We don't know yet?
No, we don't know. I do want to mention that we would, redact any personal information, personally identifiable information, like birth dates and things.
Just a second, it shifted on me.
Mr. Chair, can you get with the attorney first to see if there's any information that should not be let out?
Yes.
Once he gives the okay, then do what you do.
Okay.
That would be my suggestion.
Okay, so that would take place on the 8th and 9th. And then I'm looking at a meeting then on July 11th at 1 o'clock in the afternoon to start. Sherry, do you have anything to assist us with here?
Hi, Chair Everman. Typically, we just provide a pass-fail. We don't share the content of a background check.
So the trustees will not be reading the backgrounds on the candidates? Is that what you just said?
Pardon me?
The board will not be reading the background on the candidates. Is that what you just said?
Yes, I thought you were talking about background checks. If you're talking
We
about
are.
references, that's one thing, but a background check.
The background check will not be looking at?
Typically, the only information HR provides on a
And then
background check.
the other question that you asked was the references. We're not going to be looking at that either, correct?
Yeah, references, to look at references is a fine and acceptable practice. It's just the background check that is not shared. The details are not shared, just pass, fail.
Quite frankly, I'm happy with that.
Mr. Chair,
Yes,
may I make a motion that we accept the pass or fail from HR?
that's the way it's going to be done.
Okay.
But this makes it much easier to get the date on the 11th because we're not going to have to plow through a lot of documents.
Okay.
Okay. So, ladies, did you have further comment to help us out with that? Okay. So, I'd entertain a motion to have the interviews on July 11th, 2024, starting at 1 p.m.
Mr. Chair, I have a question of the ladies here. Is that date and time acceptable to you two? Yes. Okay. Yeah, so moved.
Okay. Do we have a second?
Second?
Do we have any discussion? Jordan, did you get the motion?
Mr. Chair, my internet is not connected, so I have not been able to type it, but Trustee Swanson motioned to have the interviews for interim president candidates on July 11th, 2024, starting at 1 p.m. And if I can write it down, I will.
Bill? Are you ready, Jordan?
Yes.
Okay, roll call vote. Sue?
Yes.
Wendy?
Yes.
Jeff?
Yes.
And myself, yes. Thank you very much for all the hard work you guys did. Okay. Item 2.24 is motion to have the board attorney monitor for interim president candidate interviews.
So moved.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Do we have any discussion?
Yes, sir. And again, he will bring up the fact if there's an inappropriate question, and that's it.
If somebody gets off the script of questions, then he's going to have to tell us that, no, that wasn't part of the questions that we've approved. We've just approved the
Actually,
question.
Mr. Chair, I believe that would be
Me.
your job to
Me.
do that.
But if they go way off to something that's bad,
Well,
he's going
yeah.
to have to
Okay.
tell me. Yes. Wendy, did you have a question? Okay. Any other questions? Roll call vote. Wendy?
Yes.
Jeff?
Yes.
Sue?
Yes.
Myself, yes. 2.24 passed. 2.27. That is the item where we're compensation for acting interim president Jason Wilson, 10% increased as recommended by the HR department. Is there a motion to do
I'll
this?
make a motion that we do a 10% increase with Jason Wilson as interim president.
Okay. Is there a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion? Roll call vote. Janet?
Yeah.
Wendy?
Yes.
Jeff?
Yes.
Myself, yes. Motion passed.
Mr. Chair,
Yes,
since that concludes the new business, can we call?
that's what I was going to ask you. Could you ask the
Okay.
interim president to come back? Larry's going to go do that for us. Thank you, Larry. Congratulations. You got a pay raise while you were gone. We're at administrative items, President's Report, item number 11. Celebrating employee and student success.
Okay, before we do that, thank you, Mr. Chair. Before we do that, I'd like to call Deandra Larkin to the dais, please. Chief of Staff Deandra Larkin is leaving the college this week. And we are going to miss her, especially us who work closely with her, the executive cabinet. Deandra has been with the college 5 years. Her service has been excellent to not only the college but the community. Yeah. She is someone who takes a lot of joy in giving me a hard time, which is a great thing. She's a morning person. I'm not. She loves to get me in the morning. But, you know, we love you. We're going to miss you. And I don't know. We're still kind of in shock that you're walking away, but we know you'll be around. So with that, Dee.
Thank you so much, Acting Interim President Wilson. I want to give a very hearty message of appreciation, gratitude, thanks to Mott Community College. This has been an excellent and wonderful 5 years, being able to contribute to the employee success, but most importantly, the student success for all of the students that we serve in the district and those who come from outside of the district to be with us. I've had so much fun with my colleagues. You all are so wonderful and great and talented, and everywhere that I go, I say that I work with the best individuals, the most talented individuals, the smartest individuals, and because of that, we have the best students in the nation that come out of our school. So I am going to miss all of you. I appreciate your wonderful, kind words. It's been wonderful working with the board. So I will never be a stranger of Mott Community College. So I don't know what else to say. I could go on about how wonderful things are, but thank you so much for those kind words, and I'm going to miss you all. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dee.
Thank you.
Next, I'd like to call up AVP Dale Wayhill and Athletic Director Al Perry to share two examples of student success, or employee success and student success.
All right, good evening again. For the record, I didn't find the birthday cake when I exited earlier. All right, so he's not here tonight. I'm looking over this way because Aaron Garrix, the Deputy Chief of Staff for the President's Office, is usually sitting over there staffing the meeting. I'm here to recognize him for recently being added to the Board of Directors of what is called Family Promise of Genesee County. Family Promise of Genesee County is a local nonprofit organization. Their focus, laser-like focus, is on homelessness of families. We have a number of agencies you probably recognize, Shelter of Flint and My Brother's Keeper and others who focus on sort of individual homelessness. But Family Promise of Genesee County is really focused on families. Aaron has recently been added to their Board of Trustees or Board of Directors. They focus on prevention, emergency housing, and also assisting people as they come out of homeless shelters. And the one unique thing, in addition to focusing on families, is that their partners are houses of worship, whether it's a church, a synagogue, or a mosque, and that's how they can do this at a very low rate of cost. So you all have a policy that you adopted a number of years ago that encourages those of us who work here to be involved in public service, including nonprofit boards. And so if you would, in his absence, give Aaron a round of applause.
Thank you. Thank you, President Wilson and Board, for giving me an opportunity today to talk about some of the accomplishments that the Athletics Department has had recently. I've had a couple of people ask me, you're wearing a tie, what's going on? In all honesty, it's laundry day in the Perry household, that's why I'm wearing this. But the second reason, and a benefit to wearing a tie today, is it's probably my most proud moment as athletic director at Mott Community College. And why is that? We won the MCCA All Academic Trophy. Yeah, we can clap. Yep. Thank you. So that award is a competition amongst the 24 institutions that sponsor athletics in the MCCIA. They take the cumulative grade point averages of each team divided by the number of sport offerings that you have. We have done well in that every year. This is the first year that we've won it since the award was created in 2020. So it goes without saying that academics are the cornerstone of what we do. It's the most important thing that we do in the athletics department. And we believe wholeheartedly that success in the classroom, success in athletics is a microcosm for life. And translating that to the classroom is incredibly important for us. But I think in addition as to why it's important or impressive this year is we also took 4th in the all sports trophy. So that's the same thing, but on the athletic side. Oftentimes in junior college athletics, those two awards have an inverse correlation. The higher you do academically, the poorer you perform athletically. The fact that we were able to do both those is pretty remarkable. And just to recognize a few people, obviously the student athletes and their hard work and their dedication, our coaching staffs for making it, a priority and reminding students constantly of the importance of academics. And then Roger Christensen, our success coach, he's played a huge role, our departmental staff. But I also want to give a shout out to President Wilson. One of the things that I think pushed us over the edge this year was having academic accountability partners. That was a program he allowed me to pilot this year, and I really think that's the thing that set us apart. So thank you very much. Happy to report and excited about wearing a tie. Don't expect it all the time, though.
Thank you. Next, I'd like to call up CFAO Larry Gothrop and Executive Director Rod Whitney to give an update on the Gorman Building air conditioning, the Bistro project, and the communication that we received last week regarding Carmen Ainsworth's property taxes.
Rod, you want to take the Carmen Ainsworth property tax?
No, I don't. That one I don't know anything about.
So, thank you, Acting President, Interim President Wilson. I don't think I'm going to say that yet. So, let me start, before I turn it over to Rod, he can get into the nuts and bolts of the Gorman air conditioning, or chiller. He keeps telling me it's chiller, not air conditioning. So, I just want to take you back to February, when we came to you about the bond resolution and the projects that are planned. This is one of those. It's been hobbling along, and it will continue to hobble along until we get it replaced, which is going to take a considerable amount of time based on what the design, implementation, and the work that the architects have to do before we can actually even bid it out. But I want to go ahead and let, I almost called you Chad, let Rod tell you what happened.
Board Chair, Acting President, Jason. So about 2 weeks ago, the Gorman chiller started operating on 50% capacity. At that time, we notified our subcontractor to come in and give us an assessment on that. Due to the high temperatures and weather conditions, it was a challenge for them to assess us in a quick manner. It was finally resolved at the end of last week. It ended up being a very small part, just a small sensor that had shut down 50% of the chiller. As of the 28th, it has been remedied and is now fully operational. This piece of equipment has been a challenge, as Larry has just mentioned, and it is something that was brought to the board's attention back in the winter and will definitely need to be addressed. I was also asked to give an update on the Bear Bistro.
Just a minute, Ron.
Oh, sorry.
On the Gorman Building, by July 15th, will you have a proposal for us?
Yes, so that was part of the end of the conversation I was going to bring up. But yes, there will be a proposal presented to the board for approval for both Curtis Mott ductwork and Gorman chiller boiler replacement.
Hold on. Let's be very clear what we're bringing. We're bringing forward an IDS design and study. This is not a construction. We're not anywhere near bidding it. So we will bring that forward so we can get the process moving.
Okay.
Okay. And before you go on, I just want to say with the Bistro project change orders, as you guys, as the board wanted, as change orders, the cumulative amount went to $50,000 or over. We had a project that's occurred, so we wanted to bring that forward to you as soon as we found out.
Yes, for clarity, that's a design proposal for both of those projects. We have exceeded change order limit of $50,000 as of 6/27/24 for the Bear Bistro. We are currently sitting at $68,412 to bring the board up to speed on what those change orders were. I brought them with me to go through. There's a total of 6 of them. 2 of them are fairly substantial. The rest are $1,000 to $1,500 change orders. Would the board like to hear what those change orders were?
What is the pleasure of the board?
Okay. So the first change order came to roughly $4,500. It was to modify the Pepsi machine, which was in the Bear Bistro. Initially, that was not in the scope and was to be eliminated. They changed their mind and would like to use the machine to dispense cola to the people who would come into the bistro. In order to do that, we had to move some walls. There were some electrical issues, finishes, paint, new countertop, new drink dispenser, which amounted to $4,500 on that change order. The second change order, there was a dipper well and an ice bin added to the bistro, which was initially not on the bid process. This change order came to $2,500. Initially, we were hoping to reuse the ones that were in the parole setting, but we're unable to. The third change order. This involves the fire marshal with the state. This was a substantial change order. We were not compliant with the fire-rated wall that was currently in the bistro. This required us to bring that up to current code standards, which involved completely reworking and designing the firewall in the bistro. This amounted to $38,341 to do that for implementation of that process. We were given this indication by the fire marshal of the state. Change order number 4. We found 2 columns that were not fire wrapped, which required additional drywalling and mudding. This was brought to our attention last week. This change order amounted to $1,200. Change order number 5 relates to exit and emergency lighting. When the state fire marshal came through, they had gave us some indication that we were going to be in violation if we did not upgrade some of our emergency lighting as well in that area. This change order came to $1,060 to accommodate that. And the last change order. It comes to the new POS system, or the point of sale, that will be in the Bear Bistro. It's my understanding the college has, which I do not personally deal with, has a franchise with the Beanery, and we are required to update to their standards. They changed their standards about 2 months ago. In order for the college to keep that franchise, here again, hopefully I'm not speaking out of turn because I don't deal directly with them on this, we have to update the point of sale area. Additionally, we were asked if we could bring new cabling, move security cameras, which would accommodate where this new cash register will be located. In order to accomplish all these different things, this change order came to $20,807. Those are the 6 change orders for the Bear Bistro.
The last one? Go over that again. They want a camera?
Relocating the current location of the cameras that are in there is what was asked to be done. as well as cable upgrading. So they've added an order menu that goes behind the countertop, and that needs special cabling allowing for that. It also allows for the 6A cable, allows for future expansion as well, if need be.
And this is what they want. This is their franchise upgrading?
So some of this is franchise upgrading, some of this is IT concerns.
Okay. The pleasure of the board. Jeff?
If we need them, we need them. And I don't think we're approving them anyways,
All right.
are we? You're
I'm
just bringing
thinking,
us up
I want to make
up
sure,
to
we
speed.
need a motion
Yeah.
to make sure that we're approving this because you wanted to have that dollar amount lowered.
Mr. Chair, we're not approving. They're, per our
I'm just making
agreement,
sure of whatever we need
they
for
are
them.
keeping us apprised of what's going on,
Okay,
which they're doing what we've asked. Thank you.
all right. Anything else on that part of the portion of the report?
No, that concludes that report.
Thank you.
And I'll cover the final one. So this is coming up over and over again. It's Carmen Ainsworth Communication, and I'm not sure when I went and re-looked at that. That came from Jack Belzer. Jack Belzer is the attorney for Mundy Township. And what happens from time to time is that these municipalities, we collect both on real and personal property taxes. The real is never forgiven. It's turned over to the county, and if it's not paid, then it goes on to their deed or their mortgage, and they collect that eventually through a sale or what have you. Personal property taxes, which is on equipment, furnishings, those type of things, don't get the same protections to the college. So they will try to collect, any municipality will try to collect those for 5 years. At that point in time, they write those off. And when they write those off, they notify all the affected units that would have received a portion of those property taxes to let them know that we're writing these off. We tried the best we could, and we're deeming these uncollectible. So it's just a mere notice that's sent. We get them. We just got one prior to this. I think it wasn't read here because it wasn't made out to the treasurer. It was made out to me, and so it wasn't a public notice. But we do get them throughout the year from time to time. So that's what that notification was. And that letter, that cover letter from Carmen Ainsworth, from Jack Belzer, I'm not quite sure what that was all about, because that was from the Mundy Township notifying all the units that they'd be writing these property taxes off and we would not collect them. And they amounted to about $350.
Correct, yeah. I wanted you to hit the amount.
Any questions on that? Thank you. Is there anything else from the two of them?
No. Thank you, gentlemen. Next, I'd like to call up Chief Jamie Zachman to discuss the process for the purchase of the police interceptors, the Ford Explorers.
Okay. Good evening, Mr. Acting Interim President, Mr. Chair, and board members. I'm Jamie Zechman. I'm the Executive Director of Public Safety, Chief of Public Safety, and I was asked to present to the board on the process that was used for the purchase of the 2 utility police interceptor hybrid Ford Explorers that were ordered with an arrival date sometime in September. In light of an urgent need to retire 3 aging vehicles from the department's fleet that have reached the end of their serviceable lives, I began conversations with Dr. Beverly about purchasing 2 new vehicles with the plan to replace more vehicles on a schedule in the coming years. Last winter, Dr. Beverly asked me about electric EV vehicles for our police fleet, and I contacted fleet manager of the city of Ann Arbor and spoke with him about their city's experience with EVs. At that point in time, no pursuit-rated EVs were on the market. He spoke very highly of the pursuit-rated hybrid Ford Explorers that Ann Arbor PD was using, and they were more affordable than the Chevrolet Tahoes and offered huge cost savings to their fuel for the city, for the fuel bill for the city. They held up well, and the officers and mechanics liked the Ford Explorers. Personally, I've worked with agencies that had Ford Explorers in the past at both Washtenaw Community College and Clio, where Fords did well for us. The University of Michigan Flint Department of Public Safety currently has 6 Explorers, and Davison Township has some as well. They're more affordable than the Tahoes and still offer the SUV perks of all-wheel drive and with more space than a sedan. Knowing this institution's commitment to environmental stewardship and fiscal responsibility, I submitted a proposal with approximate costs to Dr. Beverly to purchase 2 utility police interceptor hybrid Ford Explorers. She approved the proposal and had me meet with Larry Gothrop. He approved, and he had me work with the purchasing department to obtain finalized quotes for the purchase of the vehicle's graphics and outfitting. Following the college's purchasing policy, I worked with the college's purchasing department to obtain a quote for the hybrid Ford Explorers through a consortia agreement with the state of Michigan through My Deal. And for those of you who are unaware, a consortia is a group of entities that join together to combine their purchasing power and in volume to obtain better pricing, better access to supplies and materials, and efficiency in ordering. To say the least, it helps save time and money, and we get the best price for the vehicle. The quotes were obtained and approved by both the college president, Dr. Beverly, and our chief financial and administrative officer, Larry Gothrop, and they're due to arrive in September.
Thank you.
Trustees, do you have any questions? What's the distance to the dealership?
I don't know the exact distance to the dealership for maintenance and repairs.
For GM products, it's a 1 mile. Minimum of 20 miles. How many officers do we have to send each time they need to be repaired? 2. One to drive it, the other one to take the guy back. These costs weren't figured in. The reliability of the vehicles, the Michigan State Police don't like them. And nationally, other departments aren't using these. And most importantly, we are still a GM town. Thank you.
Okay, I'm going to forego mine for now. I'd like to bring up AVP Sherry Nowak to do new hires.
Thank you, Acting Interim President Wilson and Chair Everman and Trustees. I am privileged to present 7 new Mott employees who started since our last meeting, and this has been brought to you by our talented HR team led by Rebecca in the audience, Rebecca Martz, and kept safe and provided with compensation and benefits by the team led by Christy Dawley, also in the audience. Our first person is Venkateswar Musala. He is our new Business Intelligence Systems Analyst. He started May 28th. He comes to us with 10 years of experience as a Cognos Business Intelligence Analyst at the City of Detroit, and he holds a bachelor and a master's degree in engineering from the University of Bridgeport in Connecticut. The next person is Jeannie Yu. She is an intake and records processor. Started May 28th. She's been working at Mott through Kelly Services, which is a staffing agency in the Gateway to College. She holds a bachelor's degree in Spanish from U of M Flint and has 30 years of experience as an educator. We have Sharice Watts, Mentoring Program Coordinator, started June 10th. She comes to us with 20 years of experience at Blue Cross and Blue Shield as a trainer in operations development and learning management. She's also an adjunct professor at Henry Ford Community College, Baker, and Davenport. She holds a master's degree in career and technical education from Ferris, and she mentors youth through a sorority, Delta Sigma Theta, and she's on the community committee. Tara Clemens is a JMG specialist, started June 10th. She's worked as a peer academic coach for Eastern Michigan University and most recently as a recruitment coordinator and case manager for Big Brothers and Big Sisters of Flint. She's a docent at the African American Cultural and Historical Museum, and she holds a bachelor's degree in psychology from Eastern Michigan University. We have Diane Clemish. She's the Executive Director, Educational Partnerships and Academic Outreach, started June 10th. She's been in higher ed since 2005, most recently as Outreach Coordinator and Business Advisor at Ferris State University since 2020, providing student services to Mott and Lansing Community College students and directing their outreach. She holds a master's degree from Ferris in Career and Technical Education. And I believe Ms. Clemish is in our audience, right there.
Does she have anything like this she would like to say to the board?
I'm so happy to be here. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next is Jacqueline Serino. She's an office assistant too in Health and Human Services, started June 10th. She was a paraprofessional and secretary for Holly area schools since 2021, and she is a high school graduate from Onaway area schools. And last but not least is Adam LeViguier, skilled maintainer in HVAC, started June 10th. He worked in HVAC at the Mass Transportation Authority since 2020. Prior to that, worked at Charter Oaks Apartments as remodeling turnover specialist. He has an associate's degree from Mott in HVAC technology, and he was certified by Mott in 2023 in HVAC. And that concludes our new hires.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. For my items, number 8 and number 9, medical legal, death investigative training, and for the Durham Health Center, I met with both stakeholders in the first week of June. The architects have an initial rendering on the design potentially for Durham. They're doing cost estimates. I also am going to schedule a trip to go to Adrian on the advice of the board to take a look at that model, as that is a facility that has less square footage but seems to accomplish what we're trying to look at. For medical legal worked with Dr. Bush, and he gave us a list of stakeholders, myself, AVP Matthews. We're going to meet with those stakeholders to develop next steps around how to launch a program potentially. Number 7, our enrollment update. Enrollment, I believe Jordan passed out updated numbers as of yesterday. We continue to be strong in enrollment, summer and fall, upwards of 9.6% in head count. 8% in contact hours for summer, 9.8% in head count, and 10.6% in fall. We'll continue to outreach. We'll continue to get our students enrolled. We continue to be very strong in enrollment. That concludes my report. Any questions?
Thank you. Any questions? I would entertain a motion to send the Board of Trustees, up to 3, administrators, architect, deans that need to go, along with Jim Ananek, to Adrian College to see their health center before the end of July 2024.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay. Jordan, did you get the motion?
I did not, so could you restate it?
A motion to send the Board of Trustees. We can only send up to 3. So the first 3 that want to go can go. Administrators, deans, architect, Jim Ananek, to Adrian University to see their house center. One of the other administrators that needs to go is Al Perry to see how the health program works with the with the athletic program. And this is before the end of July 2024.
So would Al Perry be included on that motion?
Yes, Al Perry needs to be included in that. If we don't need to use his name, we can just use the athletic director.
Okay.
But Jim Ananich's name does need to be used, since he doesn't work for the college.
Mr. Chair, have you talked to Senator Ananick already?
Yes.
Okay.
All right, so Trustee Swanson motioned to send the Board of Trustees up to 3 members, or up to 3 members of the Board of Trustees, administrators, deans, architect, Jim Ananick, and the athletic director of Mott to Adrian University to see their health center.
Before the end of July 2024.
Mr. Chair, I would like to amend that.
Go ahead.
I'd like to include Trustee Wolcott and myself as going as 2 out of the 3. We started this a year ago, and we'd like to see it through.
I'd like to go too. So we've got an amendment. Would you like to go ahead and second that amendment?
Second.
Okay. With the amendment, and then the 3 of us would like to go. I'm sorry, Sue. You didn't say quick enough that you wanted to go. Okay, do we have the motion now, Jordan?
Yep, so Trustee Swanson motion to send Trustee Swanson, Trustee Wolcott, and Chair Everman, administrators, deans, architects, Jim Ananick, and the athletic director to Adrian College to see their health center before the end of July 2024. And Trustee Wolcott seconded the motion.
Are there any questions? Any questions? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Those opposed, nay. There's no nays. Motion passed unanimously. Miscellaneous board-generated ideas. Does anybody have anything they'd like to discuss this evening?
Mr. Chair, I just want to reiterate from earlier that the candidates now have access to the questions. It's a public document, so they're now FOIAble. So are we okay with giving them the questions ahead of time now?
Well,
That's a big problem.
the ladies from Human Resources, we're going to ask them not to take a peek at that. There's nothing we can do. Also, when they come in for the interview that day, they're going to, in the document it says, they will invite them into a waiting room.
They are FOIAble. So
They
Tom,
are.
Dick, and Harry can FOIA them.
There's
And
nothing
give
we
them
can
to
do.
these people.
There's nothing we can do about that. That is the way the law reads. Also, when they come in that day,
Or we
if
come
they
up with
want-
other questions.
The questions are FOIAble. There's nothing we can do about it. I think you need to direct this question for further
Bill,
from the bill.
they were given here, so it now makes it a public document.
That's right.
Had they not been given here, is what I'm saying.
We couldn't do it if they hadn't been given here. We had to come up with the process.
So this is the catch-22 you're in. You can go through the process where you don't pre-screen your questions, where you just tell each trustee you have 2 questions and you let them ask whatever they want, and they're not out there in the public, and they're not out there being known. Or you can go through the process you just utilized. So you're giving up one thing for the other. You do give up. So I suppose you could find out if a candidate has made a FOIA request for the questions. You could know that. Whether you could use that as a basis for making a decision or not is subject to a different legal question, but they are FOIAble and they are available. Somebody in the public could FOIA them, publish them on a Facebook page or some other page, and
That was my point.
yeah, so your hope is that people would respect the process and respect the system that's being taken place. There's been some great advice given both by HR, by the representatives of the board, by public comment about not letting people know what the questions are in advance, and you would hope that people would follow that, but there's no guarantees you can make that. So somebody, yes, could FOIA them. For the board to make the decision to turn them over to the candidates in advance, though, that goes back to the discussion we previously had about making a board decision on doing that, and following Robert's Rules of Order or suspending Robert's Rules of Orders for the purposes of that matter, which could be done by a majority of those elected. So the four of you voted right now to suspend Robert's Rules of Order. You could address that issue and make them public if you wanted to. So that's those are the legal issues. Again, you have to decide from a policy standpoint what you want to do in that regard.
Any other board-generated ideas? Seeing none, comments from board members. Sue, do you have any comments this evening? Wendy? Jeff?
Yes, I do. It has to do with the police vehicles. And I'll direct, if it's okay, I will direct this at the chief.
Okay.
You looked as if you were being accused that you did something wrong. I, for one, don't think you did exactly what you were supposed to do. You put a lot of hard work in it, and I apologize to you if you took it that way. I hope that the board chair did not mean it that way. Some of the items that he pointed out, maybe next time you could look at those, but as far as I'm concerned, you did nothing wrong, and you did a good job. Thank you.
My comment from the public is McLaren Hospital is offering 30 scholarships to nurses who have worked for over 3 years and to U of M Flint for their bachelor's degree. Most of those students are graduates of our nursing program here at Mott, and it's great to see they're going to U of M Flint instead of Eastern. With that, meeting is adjourned.
So moved. Somebody had to make the motion, didn't they?